Good afternoon. This is Harold Zawatsky. I'm the chair of the Fairfield Board of Assessment Appeals. Today is Thursday, April the 29th, 2021, and the time is 5:04 p.m., and I'm calling this meeting to order. This meeting is for the deliberation and voting upon appeals properly brought before the board, and Prue is taking our minutes this evening, so I will ask Prue to please do the roll call of the attending members.
Okay, Harold Zawatsky,
Here.
Paulette Quozo.
Here.
Ronik Patel,
Here.
Catherine Giff,
Here.
and Kathleen Griffin.
Here.
Okay, I believe that we are set at this hour to do some of our real estate and commercial properties as much as we can get in. And I think, Catherine, you wanted to start with a property that you heard and are ready to present?
Anyway, because I have various ones left. Is there a request for one of mine? I'm all prepared on all of mine that are left.
I think you should take it the way you want.
Okay. Kathleen, what do you want to drop off from your list?
Oh, no, I think you should do your farm or whatever. Yeah. Do something interesting to start the.
Oh, mine are all, I make them interesting.
You do.
They're all, yes. Okay. Appeal number 527. The address is 3808 Reading Road. The property owner's name, William and Pamela Gwynn. And the description, they call their property Reverie Farm. Okay, does everybody have that up?
Yeah, did you mention?
So, no, I wanted to make sure that everybody had the motion. The town has a value, the town has the property valued at $1,569,400. And the requested value, I will make a motion to do, is, well, it's a farm. You think I would have had this pulled together. Hang on, let's go to the end. The requested value will be to reduce to an appraised value of, you think I've been doing this all day. I apologize. $1,569,400, which is the town's value. So that's not right. I'm sorry, guys. Give me 2 minutes. I think I didn't refresh things. I apologize.
No worries.
I needed to have these. I thought I was in better order. And then I pulled them all up. 527. Okay. A requested value for the town of, I would like to go to a requested value of $1,569,400. And you know why I'm confused on this? The assessed value, I'd like to make a motion for a new assessed value, assessed, not appraised, of $1,090,510. And the reason this is so the gentleman, I know, Ronik, it didn't make sense, but the numbers are
Sorry, my face is too loud.
May I have a second? Thank you. So what happened was that this gentleman bought the property, his family bought the property, and they're converting part of it to a farm. Now the farm shows only the assessed column, not in the appraised column. And that's why I had problems the first time presenting this. So, here's the deal. There's 15 acres in Fairfield. It's quite a large property. 15 acres in Fairfield, 2 acres in Easton. They bought it in 2018. And he has been planting apple trees. We had started discussing this, and then we realized that, we needed more information. They will be cider apples to make hard cider. And he had nothing classified as farmland on it. So he was really here for guidance because everything was, it was the timing, and the assessor has to approve the classification for farmland. And there wasn't a real understanding of what would qualify for that classification. So, and then it becomes a formula. So actually the assessor and I went out this week and walked the property with the owners, with his name's not, he goes by Rusty and Pamela. And it was terrific. Now they're also bordered. The vast majority of their property is really kind of wetlands, the acreage. So their excess acreage already has a condition code of 0.45 on it. They also border the Eversource power lines that we had some appeals with too. And when we were walking the property, there were the Eversource people that they were arguing with were so, they had come out and ripped out so many trees. So they were already working with Eversource on that part of their property. But we can see that they do have a condition factor already of 0.45, which is low because of the irregular shape of the property and on and on. And then when he talked about his farm, it really is, he just has a few rows of these orchard trees. So we measured the orchard by some site guidelines, and we came up with about 1/4 of an acre. One of the crossover requirements to really declare something as a farm is that it's not just a vegetable garden in the back of your house, for your own vegetables, that it's a little more of a commercial venture. So the purpose of this, and I think the objective was met for this meeting of everybody there, is that the appellate will feel very comfortable and can come back every year. This is not like you deny him and this is what it is for 5 years. As he grows his farm, that amount of acreage that's given the classification can increase. But right now, it's about 1/4 of an acre that is planted with these cider trees. They'll take maybe 4 years to start developing. And he does have all plans to go into other farms and talk, with that. So when you look at, if you go all the way to the bottom of this appeal, page 30, you can see that the land value was broken out. And I needed some help understanding this. So I was very happy for the assessor to give me help on how it works. So if you look on page 30, you can see the orchards are broken out. He's given them 0.28 of an acre with the acknowledgement, the thought that that would grow over time as he plants more trees and it becomes a more commercial portion of the project. But it didn't make any impact on the appraisal value. And I was so confused that, but if you go up to the top, you can look at the appraisal. It's still in there at 11,800 because that's what it would be appraised for, but it's assessed at only $190. So it's the assessment that gets adjusted for the farmland value. And that's why I had trouble with the motion. So I apologize for that because I think that,
Oh, no.
we have, yeah, so that's Harold.
So in this documentation, the invoices or quotes that we see, that's for future plantings or current plantings that are going to take years to mature until it's a viable crop that can produce revenue. Is that correct?
It is. And that's what Rusty wasn't sure what he had to support his assessment or his valuation. So it was really good to get everybody out there meeting face to face and walking the property, which was a great outcome, I think, for the Board of Assessment Appeals. I think that's, a good value that we've brought to everybody. And yes, so those are the supplies he has bought and he has them planted. And you can see each line looks a little more mature than the next line. So you can see he's getting closer to that,
Okay.
the production value. So, and he plans to plant, an additional row or so or section every year to grow it. And, Mr. Murray was like, well, then he just comes and he talks to me every year and we walk the property and we up the acreage. But you don't see it in the appraisal amount. You see it in the assessed value.
So there is no requested reduction at this time?
Well, I think that Kathleen, maybe you could word it so that we all have a meeting of the minds too.
Sure. So I would say for the minutes, like we do for personal property, I would just state not the appraised value at the beginning, and maybe you did that in your motion, whatever the assessed value is on the current card, and now the assessed value on the revised card. And then Prue, in the minutes, just use the word assessed and we'll sort of italicize it. I think in that last column, if you're using the spreadsheet, you have a choice of appraised or assessed. So that would just be, we would use, in this case, we'll use assessed for the value. And it is a real estate. I know I said farm, but you can change it to it is considered real estate. It's just sort of like nonprofit. If we come across some nonprofits and they're asking about their nonprofit status, a few years ago, we changed a lot of the university housing from being, nonprofit where they were appraised at a certain value, but their assessed value was zero. So anyway, this is similar to that. We talk assessed in this case. It's easier.
Great. So I will make that, I will clarify my motion, the language in my motion to, so the motion will be to reduce the current assessed value of the property from $1,098,580 to a new assessment of $1,090,510, including a classification of 0.28 acres of land to orchards. May I have a second for that motion?
Harold, I'll second.
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
It took me a lot of, yeah, Paulette, what's up?
He started with 1,090,510. But he's staying at 1,090,510.
He
But there's a
actually started in the assessment column at 1,098,580. So yes, the reduction in the assessment's about $8,000 in the assessment. A lot of time for $8,000 of assessment, but I think even better is that he now understands, the assessor now understands, and that amount will continue to grow as his farm grows.
Okay. So now,
Mhm.
so is he all set? Like this is now classified as a farm?
0.2 acres is classified as farm, and Mr. Ross Murray, explained some of the other forms that he has filled out, and walked him through more of the process. And I think that's more the value than the $8,000 in the assessment that we brought.
And those forms pertain to the PA 490 classifications that the state has.
It got a little more, it was, he handed him, I actually think it was the personal property tax form and to explain it. And Rusty was like, okay, I didn't know I had to fill it out if it was zero, and he's not. And Ross was just like, now that you know, and this is what we'll do. And they're much more on the same line. And I think Rusty was just, everybody was trying to figure out how to do it. So I thought there was a meeting in the mind, and it ended well. And, $8,000 sounds not like a lot of money for all the time, but it was time well spent.
This is Harold. Does anyone need more time or more clarification? Then I'd like to call a vote. All those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested value, please raise your hand. It's unanimous. The vote is 5-0-0. The appeal is granted. I'm glad we're not in Nebraska trying to figure out farmland.
Thank you. Well, I think, they would have a lot more land. I mean, really, he just has, a little sliver, but it's going to grow. And, even if he has chickens, not everybody who has chickens gets their coop classified as farmland and so forth. So they were a very pleasant.
Can I just ask a question? I'm sorry. This is Prue. Am I changing the town amount since this is the assessed value now? Am I changing the town amount to the 1098,580 and then the request amount to 1090-510? Okay, thank you.
Yes. I think this is Kathleen. Yeah, you only need one line in that spreadsheet, Prue. It's like a friendly amendment. So it's just one, it can be one motion. It's okay. I think we
Right,
intended.
because then I put the amount type as assessed.
Yeah, it has type those amounts in, yeah, override whatever brought in from the master sheet.
So this is Harold.
Thank you.
Catherine, since you mentioned chicken coops, do you know
Yeah.
why chicken coops only have 2 doors?
Good job.
I bet you're going to say why. Why do they have only 2 doors?
Because if they had 4 doors, they would be a sedan.
That's a knee slapper.
It goes over very big in Nebraska.
Okay. I
Okay.
have not been to Nebraska. Okay. Anybody else have one they want to do, or?
I have a lot of commercial, but if you're on a roll, go ahead and I'll throw in some when you.
Well, why don't we do, I've got one commercial and that'll finish up my commercials, and then we can do your commercials if you want. And then,
Sure.
do have a residential and a land left, but I can do this. So let's pull up, I'm gonna close these so I can pull up only the right ones. Let's pull up I'm sorry, appeal number 95. Okay. For 95 is, I know. Notice how my mouse refuses to work when I get in there. Okay. Okay. Appeal number 95 is owned by 280 Post Road LLC, and the address is 280 Post Road, Fairfield. Harold Platts is the owner of that, both the property as well as he's the owner of the auto body that works out of it. And so he was so I will make a motion to, here we go again with all the numbers, to reduce the town's appraised value of $1,033,800 to the appellant's fair market value of $754,300. Do I have a second?
This is Redmond,
this-
second.
Running seconds.
Okay. So Mr. Platts, this is another one that I feel like the Board of Assessment Appeals, we've added real value to this gentleman, and it's all going to be good news. He came in his property. Take a look at the picture if you want, on page 3 or 4. Page 4, you can see he and Ray Flanagan have like mirror properties on the Post Road. They're pretty much the exact thing. They both have, a big box. They both have a parking lot in the back. And just Mr. Platts could not understand why he was assessed so much higher than he was trying to find. So there's 50 pages in here of field cards. He was kind of all over. And it came down, I was able to put together a chart that 290 Post Road, which is his mirror property, you have to add in another field card for the back lot, 215 Longview. And if you combine those, then you can, look at the two properties. They're very comparable. This will not be comparable sales. It won't be, a revenue or a cap rate. It's just trying to get those properties and where they're so different. And so land, so now I'm going to kind of word a version of the appeal, of the motion that we're going to move towards. But the land for 280 Post Road subject property is valued at $620. I'm going to make a motion to reduce the condition code to bring the land value to $516,900, which is very comparable to the other property's land value. Actually, it's a little less because his parking lot is it's a lot more used. It's not as nice as the other one. His building, we're going to change, I'm going to recommend that we change it from a service center to a service shop. And by doing that, thanks to, I was able to discuss more with the assessor, and, you know, he was clarifying what all the differences were in the classifications. But if that's a service shop, because he's not pumping gas, he's not a service center, he is a service shop, that will bring his building from 410,000 to 288,000. Very comparable again to the building next door, which is 285. Slight difference because he has a lobby and the other building doesn't have that. And then we can add in the fencing and the paving. So I am going to make the motion based on those two changes that to reduce his appraised value from, okay, Prue, we've got some other numbers for you. 1,033,200 to a grant in part to 808,700. Based on the
808,700?
808,700. And that would be a grant in part, and it would be based on reducing the condition factor on the land and changing its coding from a service center to a service shop. And I'm going to go out on a limb, and I think Mr. Platts is going to be thrilled because he was so worked up and so earnest, and he brought in 70 pages worth of things. And this is what he really wanted, you know, just to understand his numbers. And I think he's much more fairly appraised that. So do I have a second for that appeal? For that motion? I'm sorry, for that motion? Kathleen's gonna, okay. Open for discussion now, everybody.
So Catherine, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're actually combining another building, or is it building and property, or just building on the same lot?
No, he has it all on one, 280. The subject property is 280, and it includes his shop and his parking lot. And the commercial next door at 290 Post Road has its lot on a separate card, 215 Longview.
Okay.
So Mr. Platts, he knew that that was part of it, but he just couldn't understand, and the condition factors were all different and everything. And so I think he'll be very happy. So it's the other comparable lot that has to be combined with 290. It's already all in his. He has just one card. And so therefore, if you wanted to, I went through all his cards and all the information he gave me. And if you go down to pretty much the end, it might be the last page, I made a chart of all the numbers, if that's what you want to take a look at.
So this is Kathleen. Catherine, so I think we consider that a card correction. Did Ross correct the card? In other words, we can then handle his appeal as a separate voting item. Okay, so Prue, this is like two appeals. You put the same appeal number in twice, but when you put it in the second time, this is the card. So that was really a card correction to change whatever the two things that Catherine mentioned. What was it? It was the service type and
change the condition code on the land.
Okay.
And to change the type of property from service center to service shop.
Okay.
And if you go to page 55, I believe that is the new field card I requested to review.
Okay.
So if you go to 55, yep, 55 will be, that's what we're approving. That's like a draft.
Okay, and that is the combined properties.
For him, it's just the one property. He doesn't have a combination. It's the other side of the property. It's that has to come.
Yeah. And so then, so do we, I don't know if we voted on that card correction, but then we'll make a separate motion to go to what he requested originally in his appeal, right? We'll do that as a, yeah.
You for the guidance on Yeah,
Yeah, that's how we usually do it because he requested a certain value. And then we'll
Okay.
decide whether we're going to deny him on that additional value or not. But then he gets like this is sort of a grant in part. That's how it ends up being recorded. But it's a two separate motions. First to do the card correction and then second to, consider the rest of the appeal.
so the first motion I would like to make is to correct the card for 280 Post Road, to reduce the condition code on the land, and to change its classification from a service center to a service shop. May
I'll
I have a
second.
second? Harold, thanks for seconding. And does anybody have any questions, or should we take a vote?
So this is,
We can vote.
just to confirm that those changes have reduced the value for the appellant to $808,700. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. So now the vote would be to grant in part.
Well, to approve the card correction, that's what we're doing. Yeah.
All right. All those in favor of approving the card corrections, please raise your hand. It's unanimous. The vote is 5-0-0. And now to vote on the original motion to grant I'm sorry?
Yeah, this is Kathleen. Sorry. It's not the original motion. It's a new motion. We'll just pretend, or whatever, not pretend, but we just do them as two separate. So now she'll make a motion to go from 808 to whatever the requested value is.
I'd like to amend the original motion to a new value of a grant in part to 808,700. May I have a second to amend?
This is Harold. I'll second.
And then we can vote if everybody would like to make that
Well,
amendment. Or
yeah.
we could just, isn't
Yes.
that,
Yeah, I think you can just withdraw it before we vote. I think what we can just do is just make a second motion is how we usually do it, to go from, the town's value, because now we've changed the town's value to 808,700 to the appellant's requested value, fair market value of 754,300 or 3,400. So yeah,
Okay.
Pruitt will just be two separate. Yeah, we've done a few of these, so.
okay.
Okay.
What can,
Sorry.
did you get that? Did Prue get that?
I'm probably going to be calling Kathleen tomorrow.
Yes, it's a second line item, and the town amount, instead of being what pulled in if you typed that appeal number in the left column, change that to the 808,700. Right, and now Catherine's
Okay.
going to tell you what he requested in the first place, which is probably what popped in, the 754 something. Yeah,
That is correct.
and that's
Yeah.
the motion now, right?
Okay.
So that's the motion to reduce the new town value of 808,700 to the requested value of 754,400.
400 with rounding, yes, this is Harold.
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor of granting the appeal as requested by the appellant, raise your hand. I have one in favor. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Motion is denied. And the vote is 1-4-0. Paulette opposed. Paulette in favor. Paulette in favor. 4 opposed. And so the value stays at 808,700. I'll get the hang of this soon.
Well, thanks, guys, because those two were not, there was a lot of manipulation going on, but I feel good about the right objectives were achieved for the taxpayers. So thanks for bearing with me for the math lesson. Okay, Kathleen, you want to get some of your commercials
You
done?
just do my commercials? Sure. Let's see.
And if time permits, I have two commercials that I could do as well.
Okay, so we'll try to make our numbers look good. I'll give you some that, let's see, that I know I'm not that comfortable with, but I'll present them anyway, and you guys can all decide if you want to ask questions or deliberate on them. The first one is appeal number 121. Let me just call it up here. The property address is 930 Mill Hill Terrace. The owner of the property is 930 Mill Hill Realty LLC. And the town's value on the property is $4,790,300. And the appellant is requesting a reduction to $2 million. So I make a motion to grant this appeal and reduce the requested value, reduce the town's value to $2 million.
Is there a second?
This is Veronique, I'll second.
Okay, so this was, the appellant was attorney Paul Dorsey, who came in. He represents Regal Care, which owns the real estate and also operates. It's a nursing home. They own 6 other properties in Connecticut. It is a skilled nursing facility licensed for 120 beds. He did, I believe he did have an informal hearing, or he said he spoke with the assessor. He was just talking about a lot of the things, what's happened with skilled nursing homes, the performance, the occupancy, not most did get some COVID relief, but won't get it going forward. He doesn't yet know what his bed count is for 2020, but, most of his clients overall have seen a 30% decrease in their bed counts. A lot of the nursing homes have closed, but he doesn't expect that that's going to happen with this one because it's a fairly strong firm and they own, multiple properties, but they're not operating close to where the town has the value. He said he thinks the brick and mortar is worth about $2 million, but they don't want to close it. So, or don't expect that they would, but it wouldn't sell for $4.7 million. So he did present 12.5% blended cap rate of 18 and 19, and a variety of other information that we talked about. He did not have an appraisal for the brick and mortar, but again, he said he'd be pleased to be around 3 million, and that again he just talked about the effect that COVID has had in the long-term trajectory of the healthcare business, where more healthcare and things are being offered in the home and in other places as opposed to in this business. So again, I'm not, he made a very nice presentation. It was great. I'm just, I'm not comfortable supporting it, but don't know enough, I shouldn't say, to say that he's correct at 2 million.
This is Harold. He did provide some income and expense information, and from looking at other commercial properties, I did see a table that shows that typically the range of cap rates is between what did I see, 5.67 and 10, and as we understand it, the higher the cap rate, the lower the value. Is that correct, Catherine?
Well, you invest less. Yes.
Yeah, in general terms, right? And cap rate of 14% is way over the range that is used, at least what I discovered in this standard table of a maximum of 10%. So I can't abide by the numbers that he's presenting. And, this was a purpose-built facility for a nursing home, and certainly the nursing homes are going to be in high demand. I'm afraid to say. Yes, Paulette?
I had a question for Catherine. Is the cap rate that we're discussing, 8, 10, whatever, is that a standard across the board for every business, or is that rate affected by the type of business you run and where your payments come from? Because in this case, a nursing home, most of their payments, some is private pay, but majority is from Medicare, Medicaid, private insurers. They don't pay what the nursing home asks. They pay what they feel like paying when they decide their rates every year in February. So I don't know if it's the same for everybody, that's fine. I just don't know that it is, and I just wanted to clarify. Because it's not like they just don't have the ability to say, okay, this year I'm going to charge $100 a day and get paid by the insurance companies. They'll get paid $60 a day, even if they charge $100 a day. So I just wondered if that cap rate changes with the style of business.
Yes. Yeah, what you're saying is correct. Yes. And I'm familiar with what the cap rate is for a nursing home, but that is, as Howard said, look at an effective cap rate of 14% is definitely the highest that we have seen, but we haven't seen any other nursing homes either. I have not. I don't know if there's other ones, but it also shows that he has net income of over $1 million.
This, Kathleen, I think he shows is that the 2020? Yeah, some of that may have been, I don't know if they were getting COVID payments and that was going to go out. I can't remember, again, the details of, I think it was one of my first appeals. Yeah, I was like,
I'm looking at this page for 2019. So that was before COVID, that's correct. But he has a value to real estate. I'm not sure if, I don't know how to read all of these numbers, I'm just going, but he has his real estate value at like 5.5 million. So I don't know if he's gone down so much because of COVID. And yeah, nursing homes took the brunt of a lot. I mean, they're going to have to change a lot. But it was based on 2018, he has 3.5 million. So I guess it varies. And then in 2020, he comes up with zero.
I just Googled, and maybe this helps Paulette. I just Googled cap rates for nursing homes. Cap rates for senior housing cap rates rose an average points to 7.8% in 2020, which is an increase of 40 basis points from a record low of 7.4 in 2019. So it's certainly far from the 14%.
yeah, this, Kathleen, and like I said, the COVID relief there's the asterisk, without the COVID relief, it would be very different. That's what he's saying. They've been getting, I believe, I don't know if it's state payments or, some assistance, but when the COVID relief goes away, that's going to change. So that's the asterisk at the bottom where he says it's going to go from 11 million or whatever down. So or 11 million about that.
I think the nursing home cap rates have something to do with the state. Somehow the state plays a role in it. So
Sure,
maybe this.
Yes. He was very knowledgeable about nursing homes. I said, why are you using a cap rate of 7 or 8? He's like, oh no, we're a nursing home. We are typically up around, 11 or 12 or whatever. So I asked him about the brick and mortar, those were the kind of the discussions we had. Did you do the sales approach as opposed to the income approach? And again, they're at 4.9, we're asking to go to 2. He said, I'd be happy with 3. So I was like, I'm
Do we need more time or more information?
No, I'm just saying he has presented 3 years of data and, clearly the income fluctuates, it's down some and it's up, which also impacts a higher rate. And then last year they made no money, but so to base it on the year that they didn't make any money is part of my issue. I have that hard time on that, to base it on 1 year when it's a 5-year reval.
Okay.
So,
Does anyone need more time?
No, I'm
And
okay with
I'll call a vote. All those in favor of granting this appeal, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Abstentions?
I'm sorry, I was opposed.
I have 1 abstention. Paulette abstaining. The vote is 0-1 with Paulette abstaining. Thank you, Catherine.
Kathleen, she's the person.
Kathleen, but that's close enough.
We're all the, yeah, we're all the same, those Catherines and Kathleen.
Okay, do you want me to do another one?
Sure.
Okay, so this is appeal number 228. Let me call it up on my list. Property address is 1 Elliott Place. The owner of the property is RWTR1 Elliott LLC. The town's value on the property is $4,971,000, and they're requesting a reduction to $4,004,811. And I make a motion to grant this appeal and reduce the reduce the town's value to $4,004,800. To round it
Rodrigo,
off.
second that.
Okay. So
this-
this is the,
I'm sorry, what was the appeal number again, please?
or 228, did I say it wrong?
I didn't hear it.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep. So this is the office building that's kind of behind the Hertz and to the left of the Marshalls, the Elliott Place building on the Post Road in Fairfield, well, obviously in Fairfield, the Post Road, just behind the Post Road, that back road is the office building in the back there. It's a general office building. So he said it was a solid B-class building, 25,000 square feet. They have, he used the income approach in his presentation. He said there's been a decline in leasing activity, except in places like Stamford and Greenwich. Vacancies in 12 to 24 months. His expenses have increased. I think he gave me some comparable sales, 2150 Post Road, January of 2021. The better quality building on a nicer street, right? Just selling for just under $200 a square foot. He believes the subject property is about valued at about should be about $160 a square foot. Catherine, if you want to look at his income numbers and explain those a little bit, he has a 15% general vacancy. Let's see, gave me his income before taxes, gave me an 8% cap rate. He came to 3.7 million. And he has had some tenants up and down. Is, you know, if he went to a lower vacancy, he would get up to 4.13 million, keeping everything else the same. He said to get to a different price, he'd have to, you know, the cap rates would have to be lower. And in property, he has a 25% rent roll expiring in September of 1,500 square feet expiring September 21 and 5,000 expiring in September 22. So he is concerned about, you know, the leasing and what he will be able to rent for going forward, you know, considering the office space is declining in demand. So that was his appeal. And he did, I believe he did have an informal, yeah, he did have an informal hearing.
I don't see his income statements in the file.
Me neither.
Nope, and maybe he just spoke to them and he didn't give them to me. I would have to, and Ross is probably, he's on, I don't think he's in the office anymore, so.
Well, he's there, but I don't know that he can give any, again, these just, I don't really feel qualified to, these are big numbers for, I think I would have the question, you know, his land stayed about the same, you know, went down a little in the assessment, but the building itself increased from $1.6 million in assessment to $2.6 million.
That's a lot.
I mean, that's
So-
a lot, but you know, I can't come up with another number, or if, you know, there should be a depreciation code or something. Just, that's a little beyond.
Catherine, is it true that, or Kathleen, is it true that income statements are provided each year and that can affect the value going up or down?
The way I understand it is that no, whatever they're at, they stay there for the 5 years. And that because Catherine can help me with this a little bit, but because they, when you buy a piece of commercial property, you're not buying it for today, you're buying it for the income stream going forward. So they do their best to figure out what the income stream is going to be on this building going 5 years, 5 years into the future till they do another reval. And so for those, so that's what I believe during some of the informals, they said, okay, these businesses may take 1 to 2 years to recover from COVID. So we gave them, some kind of adjustments based on that. Other businesses may come back, faster, higher. Some are not affected by COVID. Some went up by COVID. So that's what they tried to do. Chris Kieran did that with the properties. And then if they had informal hearings, that was their opportunity to also speak to that case and talk about their income and their vacancy rates and their cap rates and all of that when they had their informal hearings.
This is Harold. So the fact is that if we deny this appeal because we don't have sufficient information ourselves to know if the number that was presented is correct or not, then we could be, I would look at it as we may be doing them a service if they wish to go to court and appeal this, because they might get their number or even better, as the case may be. But we are not, we have insufficient information to determine whether the value that they put on their property is correct or not. That's my opinion. Okay. Does anybody need more time? All right. All those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested value, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Abstentions? One abstention. The vote is 0-4-1. Paula abstaining. Thank you.
May do another?
Man has arrived, so my dog's going crazy, so I'm going on mute, but I'm here. Go, go, go.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kathleen.
Sure. So, all right, we'll do, let's see. I want to make sure I mark off what I've done so that we know, I can tell everybody how much progress we made today. Let's see. So that one is that. Appeal number 212. And this is the Home Depot. So the property address is 541 Kings Highway Cutoff. The owner of the property is Home Depot USA. The town has the property valued at $21,428,300, and they're requesting a reduction to $20,450,000. So I make a motion to grant this appeal and reduce the town's value to $20,450,000. Do I have a second?
This is Harold. I'll second.
So again, he does have some background information in here on Home Depot. The percentage reduction is very small on this one. It's $1 million on a $21 million property. He did say he used the they typically don't include the garden center when they do the square footage of the building. So he said the leasable amount of space in this building is 98,056. He used $1,850 a square foot rent, 5% vacancy, 7.5% cap rate, 10% expense factor, with 1% in reserve, or $209 a square foot. He says properties like Home Depot are not typical retail properties, the home improvement stores. He believes, it's a 17% increase over the last valuation. What else? Connecticut's on a 5-year cycle where they range from $15.50 to $20 a square foot usually. And I think it says only one appeal filed, so I guess maybe this is the only one they filed. And he's asking for a $978,300 reduction on a $21 million property. It was originally a build-to-suit property, and they bought out the lease. And that sale is being used in court. I think they said they paid a premium for it for that reason. So,
Kathleen, I have a question. I hear you say he has a 5% vacancy rate.
in his income approach, yeah, it's a little confusing for me. I mean, Home Depots have been way up in COVID. It's hard for me to.
How could there be a vacancy rate in a hardware store? They just fill up the shelves with something else. There's no vacancy in that building.
Right, exactly.
That's accounting semantics, I guess.
And
Yeah.
second point, how could, Paulette, only if you're done, because
I'm
that's a great point, and I've got an excellent. They don't include the garden center in their square footage. I'm sure they include the garden center in their profits.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Yeah.
It's
And
a ball space.
I know where I spend my money at Home Depot.
Well, maybe they're counting the hot dog cart outside as the vacancy rate.
Yeah, and he was,
That
yeah, I don't know
probably-
if I mentioned his name. Yeah, it was Michael Miano. I think he came actually from Boston. I think he was doing, I don't know, came down, check out the store and stuff. Anyway, he was lovely conversation. I live within walking distance of that Home Depot over there a few times a week. So it's very busy. I don't know. I don't know how to evaluate a $20 million property. So to know that
Right.
he even needs the the $1 million reduction. So
I
Do we-
think Paul's comment and the garden center are the two comments that stuck out for me, as well as this was not affected by COVID in a bad way.
yeah, well, this is Kathleen. Look, it does say less vacancy and collection loss. So how much of that 5%? I'm looking on page 10. It does say, perhaps in my notes I didn't put and collection loss after that, but I don't know how much is collection loss and how much is vacancy. But anyway,
Okay,
I don't think it applied to either one of them.
do we
Either one
need
of
more
them.
time?
I don't.
Okay, all those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested value, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. The motion is denied. The appeal is not granted. The vote is unanimous, 0-5-0. And I'm going to take my dead plant back for exchange.
You do that, you bring that twig in. They are good about that.
That'll fill up the vacancy on that spot where your plant came from.
Yeah, that's where the vacancy is.
all right. So I'll do another one if that's okay with everybody. I
Yes,
heard 3
please.
of them yesterday. They're fairly fresh in my mind. I don't know that I need to do a lot more research to make a difference on them, and their backup is in the file. Well, I shouldn't say that. Let me do the I don't know. You want a denial, or do you want to, or the automobile, Catherine? Tell me, would you want the big buildings, or you want to do the auto one next? You can help because you just did an auto one, so you kind of know where they are.
Yeah, I don't mind looking at another one. I mean, it's.
All right, so let's do appeal number 490. And the property address is 2149 Post Road. The owner of the property is Pepper Partners LLC. The town has the property valued at $974,700. They're requesting a reduction to $600,000. So I make a motion to grant this appeal and reduce the requested value to $600,000.
This is Veronique. I'll second that.
And so this is Fairfield Automotive. The appellant was Peter Wheel. He's a 1/3 owner in Pepper Partners. Fairfield Automotive has been in that particular building for 30 to 40 years, or tenants for 30 plus years. It's a 3-bay garage with an office. They do have a leasehold on the property. And the current rent on the property is $35.18 a month, with a 3% increase every 2 years. It's, a single tenant, pretty predictable. They have a I don't know if it's a, let me see, the current lease is 2018 to 2023. And with 2 5-year abilities to renew. So basically until 2033. So there's 2 5-year extensions on that. He said that he's the cap, and there is an appraisal in this one. It's pretty thorough. It's got a lot of information in there. I think he saw their net income at 37,725 with a 6.5% cap rate. That came to 585, 385. So that was where they came up with one of the numbers. He also, and so he did want to point out that it is a leasehold as opposed to a tenant, so that if someone were to purchase the property, they would have to take the leasehold. They would have to take the tenant with them. It's not like they could, it would be subject to the sale of that leasehold on the property if someone were to buy it. As to it's opposed to not being encumbered. So he also did a sales comparison in there, has a few, if you want to look at some of the other similar garages and things that sold. He said that with the sales comparison approach and the appraisal, they came up with a value of about $630,000. And so between the 630 on the appraisal and the 585 using the 6.5% cap rate, it's very steady income in there. They don't expect to have a lot of turnover change, especially because they've got this long-term lease and the tenants have been there for a long time. And his other comment was he said the town's land value just seems extremely high, for higher than he's seen on a lot of the other properties around. I said it's probably because it's downtown, on the post road in a desirable district, but it is a garage repair property. So I can go through the comps if you want. George Shawa did the appraisal. Yeah, it's like the dogwood cleaners, that was a garage bay. It sold for $2 million, but he went back and forth on some of those Tungus Hill garages.
Well, this is Harold. One of the last comments that you made was he didn't think his land value was correct. It is on the post road, as we know, and I did a little bit of research. I mean, he has 9,260 square feet, and it's valued at $869,700. There's also a repair garage at 1827 Post Road, which has 10,000 square feet, and that is at 817,100, and also 1927 Post Road, another garage with 8,840 square feet, and the land is valued at $847,400.
Yeah, he was just saying compared to other garages that he had seen, he thought that this land value was unusually high.
Right, but I'm just pointing out that these are the garages that are on the post road, on the same area of the post road that he is on. The one actually with the 10,000 square feet that is valued lower did have a condition factor of 0.9 because of access. It doesn't have direct access from the post road, so that there was an adjustment there for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, his land value is similar to other garages in the area.
Yeah, this is Kathleen. I think too, we've seen that with commercials, the condition factors and things they put on the commercial really has to do with accessibility, location, a variety of other things. It's not done the same way that you do residential real estate land values, where it's relatively similar anyway across a neighborhood code. Where here they use the condition factors as to sort of direct how the business is and isn't used in a particular commercial district. So
Anybody need any more time? Catherine, excuse me.
Catherine, I just want you to comment on the appraisal and what you think of the,
I mean, it's here. What do I know about, the cap rate? But I think what stands out to me is that, boy, that's not a lot of rent that they're charging. And, so they're basing their cap rate. So I'm not saying that's not the rent, but I think I heard that, this tenant's been there 30 years, but to rent out all of that for $3,500 a month, to me sounds very low. And then I feel bad saying that. I don't know what a garage should rent for, but $3,500, I mean, that's like one repair. If you do this,
This is Harold.
there.
This is Harold. Kathleen, did you say that there are 3 partners?
I don't know if there's 3 partners, but he's 1/3 owner, put it that way. Someone else could own 2/3. He didn't speak to who the other 2 owners were, just that he was a 1/3 partner in the business.
Thank
And
you.
it's a family that's rented for a long time. Mhm.
So did he
Doesn't
indicate if any of the partners were operating partners?
I didn't ask him that, and he didn't provide that information. I don't know if it's in the appraisal as well. I'm guessing the appraisal talks about, the rental stream from there's a name that's blacked out, but I don't know if you want to try to read that through it or not. The income approach lease began in June of 2004, 5 years with 2 5-year options. The current rent, I don't know what they started at. So they rented at $23 a square foot. That's the rental, right, per square foot, $23.
This is Harold. Prue, I want to mention that John Spollier has joined our meeting at approximately 6:04.
Thank you. There's also a call in user 5. I'm not sure who that is.
That could be Peter.
Yeah, that's me. Yep.
Okay.
Peter.
Thank you.
And Peter has joined as well. So those are legitimate board members. Do we need more time on this one?
I'll just vouch that the appraisal looks good and he's taking the rent that's being charged. I would just have to question if that's the best rent they could get for a 3-bay garage. That I think a hairdresser rents her chair for more than $1,000 a month. Never mind.
Well, so I mean, do you want to?
Against the appraiser, he's using, the income that's collected, but I find it hard to, that would be my input.
So
All right.
do you want to do something for this, or do we want to, I don't know enough about it. If he's that high, what was the garage that you just did, Catherine? It came to 7 something?
It was valued at the garage. So he's an auto body. And so he doesn't have bays and so forth of that. So, I don't think you can compare a repair to an auto body. He's dealing mostly with insurance claims and, he's doing brake jobs and, like it's a different, I would have liked to see something with, hey, this is maybe the contract rate. The one who did the Lexus dealership for me, he used a market rate, although the contract rate that it was being leased at was lower. Mm-hmm. And we went to the capitalize, we used the market rate to capitalize on. So I would have liked to see the market rate for the rent for a 3-bay service station.
Yeah, I don't know that we have, do we have any other, I don't think we have other automotive. His bays are, the bays are valued at $26,200 total. That's the commercial outbuilding from what I could understand. And the commercial building is the office space valued at $78,800. So it's the land value. I guess the question is, are we looking at the income stream only, when we value this, or the sale, what it's going to sell for? Those are the two, what's the market value of the property, right?
I think people who would be buying it would be looking for an income stream. So I would have liked to know an income stream, a current market rate for that. And so
whether $3,500 a month is or the square footage at $28 a square foot. That's what he's renting it for. It's a small lot. right? So it's $28 to square foot, not 15, 20, that's not super low.
This is Harold.
I don't know.
This is Harold. I just searched our list of 650 appeals, and this is the only auto repair C that I could find, the only one that came up. So I don't think we have any others to go on. I think if using that income approach, it seems to be, to Catherine's statement, a very low rent that is, and I question whether or not any of the partners are operating partners in the business. I don't know if that would have a factor or not. So does anyone need more time? Then I'll call a vote. All those in favor of granting this appeal to $600,000, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Abstentions? I have one abstention. The motion does not carry. The appeal is not granted. The vote is 0-4-1. And Peter and John are not voting because they came in late to this discussion.
Hey guys, I'm running late. I have to get going. Thank you guys so much. I'm sorry.
No, thanks for helping us out. We made some good
Thank you.
progress.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
I'll talk to you later.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, so I'll do two more. I'll do my other two from yesterday, if that's okay. I'll start.
Yes,
Okay, so the first one is appeal number 173. The property address is 60 Round Hill Road. The owner of the property is Roller Bearing Company of America. And the appellant is Jordan, I'm sorry, the town's value on the property is $5,722,200. And they're requesting a value of $4,035,850. So I make a motion to reduce the town's value to the appellant's requested value of $4,035,850.
This is John. I'll second it.
Okay. So this is that building as you're going down Round Hill Road, just before you get to the train tracks on the left-hand side. It's an industrial building. It's 80,717 square feet. One-story manufacturing that was built in 1956 and has been expanded. It's a 7.3 acre site. Interestingly enough, I always saw the bearing signs on there. I thought they made ball bearings for, I don't know, cars or whatever else. They actually make them for jet planes, for 747s and all of that. So they make airplane ball bearings. And they are the, owners of the building and also the business. There's a couple issues with their building. One is that they have a 14-foot clearance height on their bays and 19-foot ceiling heights. So that limits the number of buyers that might be interested in purchasing the property. He did not use a income approach at all for the building. He said because they're the owners and all of that. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, did I say the appellant was Jordan Hitchers? And this was one where their mail was actually returned. Their letter for their hearing was returned, so we granted them a hearing. We granted him a hearing yesterday. So he used a sales comparison approach to come up with the values, to come up with his values on the property. So let's see. I just want to look at what he had for comps. He said he couldn't find any comparable sales in Fairfield, so he went to Bridgeport and Stratford, adjusted 20% for those. Everything ranged from $21 a square foot to $104 a square foot. I think he used an average of 43 to 46. And yeah, I mean, you can look through the comparables if you want. I did ask him which one he thought was the best comp for their property, and he said the 430 Sniffins Lane in Stratford, because it's a similar age building, inferior heights in the building. It is smaller, but it's in Stratford. So some of the bigger ones he used in the sales comparison are older. He said he had an interesting tour of the building. I don't remember the date. Is the Sniffins one sold? He used a Long Beach address and Honey Spot that sold in 2017. Of 350 Long Beach on the market for 5.8. It has better heights, better layout, the distribution facility. So it's pretty much it is an industrial building, limited uses, or, who would be interested in buying it? Not that they're looking to leave. But since, like I said, since there's only one owner user now, he did not do an income.
Anybody need more information or more time? I'll call a vote. All those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested value, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Abstentions? I have one abstention. The appeal is not granted. The motion fails. The vote is 0, 5, 1. One abstention from Paulette. My goodness, I just hope that they don't make those ball bearings too heavy. Keep those planes flying.
Yeah, he did say also it's hard for the trucks to get under the train tracks. So he says it's an awkward location, for any big to have a distribution center. So probably Amazon is not considering coming to Round Hill Road anytime soon.
Yeah,
So,
a lot of trucks have problems with that overpass.
yeah.
Train overpass. Okay. Kathleen, do you want me to do the two that I have outstanding?
Sure.
Okay.
I think I want Ross on the call for some of my other ones. And there's one piece of backup that I asked him to add for the other one I heard yesterday. So let me see if that's up there yet.
Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to call up Appeal 579. And I'm going to suggest that we look at this in conjunction with 580 as requested by the appellant.
I'll second that motion if that was a motion to discuss them together.
Okay, so 579 is located at 600 Commerce Drive. The owner is Penzer Associates, LLC. Peter Penzer came before the board. The town has the property valued at $1,555,000. The appellant's opinion of fair market value is $811,800. And you may recognize this as being the property of, excuse me, it's a Sweet Basil, okay? I make a motion to grant this appeal to the requested value of $811,800. Do I have a second?
This
Peter,
is John, I'll second.
Peter, I saw Peter's hand up.
That's fine.
Okay, and now I will also call appeal number 580. And appeal number 580 is located at 572 Commerce Drive. The owner is Penzer Associates, LLC. And Peter Penzer came before the board. And this property is the adjacent parking lot for Sweet Basil Restaurant. The appellant's fair value for this is $178,200. I make a motion to grant this appeal for the value of $178,200. Do I have a second? Peter seconds. Thank you. So in the files, there are letters from Mr. Penzer saying that he wants to have us consider these properties together because the parking lot is very important for the restaurant. The restaurant couldn't operate as a restaurant without the parking lot. And the parking lot is required for the restaurant by Fairfield Planning and Zoning. The current appraisal, if we follow his request to combine the two properties, is $1,807,800. Now, there is some financial information, and as you can see, there's $20,017 in taxes that should be removed from the expense side, since we have heard in the past that the taxes should not be included there. And he's also stating in his letters that he's working on a 10% cap rate, which he acknowledges in the letter that it is high. It is high. And from what we've seen, it's usually for restaurants, and Catherine, you can help me out with this as well, it's usually between 7.5%.
That's what I would do the downtown restaurants.
Right. And I did look at another appeal that we had heard, Wan Fu Restaurant on the Post Road in Fairfield, and that had a 7% cap rate. And also Mercurio's, which included the Colony Pizza, was working with a 7.5, I believe, no, 7% cap rate as well. And the Wan Fu, if anybody's interested, that was appeal number 365, and the Mercurio appeal was 216. And as we've seen in some of the other documentation, the cap rates generally fall below the 10%, in more of a range of what we're seeing of 7.5. So in doing the calculations, for example, with a 7% cap rate, the combined value would be reduced to $1,687,200. If we did it at a 7.5 cap rate, it drops further to $1,574,750. So my opinion is the 10% is too high, and maybe the 7.5%, which is high of what we've seen for restaurants, or it's in the range of what we've seen for restaurants, is maybe the figure that we should shoot for, the $1,574,750. Now, he also asked for an apportionment of the total to be 88% for the restaurant and 12% for the parking. But if we do that, it keeps his restaurant portion high at 88%. And I think that in keeping with what the town's apportionment has been in the past, to drop that down to 85% for the restaurant and 15% for the parking, if we apportion the total value as Mr. Penzer had requested. So doing that, it brings the restaurant portion of the appeal down to $1,338,540, which I will round to 500. $1,338,500, and the parking lot portion to $236,210, which I will round to $236,200. So my motions would be to reduce the value of appeal number 5. Let me get the right one now.
Yeah. So Harold, this is Kathleen. Can you want to see if anybody has comments before you put the motion out there? Does anybody have, just saying, so we can, in case, we don't have to have a motion and you withdraw it on what you're suggesting. Does Catherine or anyone else have input on that?
Absolutely. I'm sorry to be
No,
on
just
here.
saving Prue a couple lines of minutes, that's all.
Okay.
One less motion in the minutes is good.
So
Okay.
yes, please,
Done a
please
fine-
look it over, and if you need more time, let me know. Any questions or comments will be gladly welcomed.
Harold, I think you've done a fine job. And just so I'm following everything, I missed the part just before the 1,574,000 at 7.5%. You had another option in there. And I apologize to make you go back. It was just, I
At
couldn't.
7%, it would be higher. The value at 7% of the combined properties would be 1,687,200.
Thank you.
And I kind of like the 7.5% cap rate calculation. Any comments, any questions? Any further discussion?
Yeah, so you're going to make an amendment to, to both?
I'm going to make an amendment to each appeal
Okay.
to adjust the value. Okay, so on appeal number 579, which again is the restaurant portion, I make a amended motion to reduce the value to $1,338,500. Do I have a second? And I see that Judy has just joined us, so Prue, if you're doing the minutes, you can indicate that she has joined us at 6:26 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
All right, do I have a second for my motion? I see Kathleen has seconded the motion. So all those in favor of, yes, John?
No, go ahead.
All those in favor of granting the amended value to $1,338,500, please raise your hand. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor. Opposed? None opposed. Okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
Judy, do you want to
Abstain. Yes, please.
Did you hear enough? Okay.
No.
One abstention. Judy abstains. So now to the,
Why don't we vote on that on the main motion on, yeah, let's just finish out that motion. It's probably easier for Prue's recording if you vote on the amendment.
right, and then I will go to the other appeal.
Okay.
So now I'm going to call a vote on the main motion. All those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested value,
To the amended amount.
to the amended amount, didn't we just do that?
Well, you're granting in part to it,
Okay.
it's not what they requested, it's the amended value.
Yes.
Technically, sorry.
Thank you. All those in favor of granting in part to the amended value of $1,338,500, please raise your hand. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor. Abstentions? I have 1 abstention. Judy, 2 abstentions. The appeal is granted in part, $1,338,500. The vote is 5 in favor, no opposed, 2 abstentions, Judy and Paulette abstaining.
I have to tell you, I'm sorry to keep abstaining, but I just can't be bothered with all this. Make them this and let's do this. It just doesn't bother. I can't concentrate on it. It's just not worth the time. So I'll just abstain from them. I can't be bothered with it.
Okay, if that's your prerogative, that's certainly your prerogative. Okay, so on appeal number 580, and this is the parking lot associated with the property we've been discussing. I make a motion for an amendment. Do we need further discussion first? I wanted to interject that. Any
What's the
comment?
appeal number?
580.
Did you just discuss this and did I miss something?
We did
Yeah.
discuss it.
All right, then I guess I'm gonna have to abstain from this as well.
Okay. On appeal number 580, I make a motion to amend the value to $236,200. $236,200. Do I have a second? Kathleen seconds. All those in favor, any further discussion on this? Okay, I'll call a vote. All those in favor of the amended value, changing the amended value to $236,200, please raise your hand. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor. Abstentions?
I'd also like to state on my extension that I used to work for Pete Penzer. I worked for him years ago. So that's another reason why I will abstain.
Okay, and Paulette,
I'll
how do you?
abstain.
You're abstaining. All
Yes.
right, the motion to amend is granted with a vote of 502. Judy and Paulette abstaining. And so now the original motion, I make a motion to grant in part appeal number 580 to the amended value of $236,200.
I think you mean just call the vote, right? Because I think we voted on the amendment. So now we're voting on the motion on 580. I think you motioned them together. I think we took them, yeah.
Now, I'm calling the vote on appeal number 580.
580, yeah.
Okay. And so all those in favor of granting this appeal in part to $236,200, please raise your hand. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor. Opposed? None opposed. Abstentions? 2 abstentions. Okay, well, thank you very much. I really did work very hard to come up with figures that were based upon things that I've learned while I was on the board. Thank you.
Yeah. And more importantly, Harold is done.
I'm done.
You're done.
Yes.
So.
And Harold, that was a good one to go out on it. It was a summary of a lot of hard work, and it was well done. Good presentation.
Work. I do. It's not you. It's that I have no use for the Roberts Rules thing. It's just too cumbersome and doesn't work out. It's not for us. So I appreciate the work that you did. I'm sure that took a lot of time.
I was concerned about it too. Mr. Penzer is a very generous person. My wife, who does volunteer work for Dress for Success, they used to have a place there on Commerce in a building that we voted on previously, and he was very kind to the Dress for Success board. Okay, I think we're still waiting for some people to join us so that we can continue with the beach area. So if Kathleen, if you have some more commercials to do, or Catherine, if you have some more appeals that you want to present, go right ahead.
Kathleen, you want to go?
Sure. Let me do the second one of Judy, that Judy had that we did yesterday with the return mail. Oh, sorry. Somebody broke up and I can see everybody now. We got too many. So I did ask Ross to add, I took some notes on their appeal, and I took hand notes. He changed a few of the numbers, but I mean, if people want to take no action on it till we get the numbers, we can do that. But I have a feeling it may not change our decision, so I'd prefer to present it and see how the board feels about that. So it's appeal number 174. It is, the property address is 30 Jelliff Lane. The owner of the property is Highland Realty Partners LLP, Partners One LP. The town's value on the property is $3,518,100, and they're requesting a reduction to $3 million. So I make a motion to grant this appeal and reduce the town's value to the requested value of $3 million. Do I have a second?
John seconds.
Okay. So this is a, again, another office building, 16,000 square feet. I believe it's the one that's kind of near the Dunkin' Donuts in Southport there. It is built in 1985, average condition on 0.88 acres, wood frame building, has parking for about 50 vehicles. They do have long-term leases. I asked him about that. None of them are due to expire any particular time soon. It's 87% occupied by 10 tenants. In his paperwork, you'll see he used, oh, I didn't call it up, hold on. He used both 18, 19, and 20 figures. And then he averaged them and put them on the on an average sheet that's on the page 10 of the backup. So what he went over on the phone with me was that he had put the real estate taxes in there, but he wanted to pull them out. So he adjusted the net operating income and some other numbers to come to the pulling the taxes out. He read me what all those differences in numbers were. And he apologized for that. Again, I should have taken a copy before I left, but I don't have those in front of me. What is it, 302,739. I should have taken better notes on that. So a net income of 263,770, used an 8.5% cap rate. And just talked about the impact of the market on, the long-term impact of the market on office space rentals like this, in choosing to use an 8.5% effective cap rate. I did ask him if he did the sales approach, to give us another confidence in the values of his income to see how close the sales approach was, but he did not use that number. So, or he did, I should say that he didn't provide that number. And so they're requesting a reduction to $3 million. He didn't change his requested value based on the real estate, taking the real estate taxes out or putting them back in.
Anyone have any comments or thoughts? So just looking at the information that's here, Kathleen, we do see a big drop in the from 2018-19 figures to 2020. Is that because something got included in the expenses in the 2020 chart that wasn't in the previous years, or what caused it to go down? Since he's doing an average.
Right,
Yes.
will cause the rental income to go down. I don't know if it was COVID. He just said 2020 should be given the most weight because of the effect of the pandemic. So that must have had some effect, but he did say he was 87% occupied by 10 tenants. He didn't provide, any lease information or any of that.
This is John. I'm looking at the numbers here, and I also noticed that while the rental income looks like it went down by $10,000, The general expenses, though, went up by about 70,000, it looks like.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
I mean, it could be that they, needed to clean more of the office building, or with the maintenance on that. I don't know quite what goes into that. It doesn't break out what constitutes general expenses. The taxes actually also looks like the taxes, real estate taxes went down 20,000 or so, around 15,000, I'll say. And there was no insurance listed for 2020, whereas there was insurance listed for 19 and for 18 as well. And last but not least, I know I'm probably pointing out the obvious here. Looks like there was no amortization on the building as well for expenses, so.
Yeah, like I said, I think you said the net income 263,770. So I guess that would be if you put the real estate taxes back in the expenses, right? That's where he came up with the 263,770. And an 8.5% cap rate.
Catherine?
It's always a little difficult to take an average versus a trend. And, if you take his year one and his year two, his cap rate, his implied market value is exactly what he's appraised at. And it's only because 2020, he has, those general expenses, he just comes up with a very different cap rate, even though his revenue stays the same. And that would be the sole reason that it's pulled down, because of the use of the 2020 as an average. So I'm a little inclined to hope he comes back next year with a more positive trend, not needing to come back, versus saying that 2020 is the valuation for the next 5 years.
Does anyone need more time? Is there any more comment or discussion?
I do have a comment. And Kathleen, you mentioned that you didn't take good notes on this. So tell me about that.
Well, this is Kathleen. I didn't write down, he adjusted every year for me with the real estate taxes. He gave me the number for the net income. He backed the taxes out and he did the math. So he did the math for me on the phone and I wrote down the math. So if anybody wants to do the math, you can just take the real estate taxes out and redo the numbers. It's not like, what I mean by I didn't take notes. I didn't write down all those numbers. I just came down to that final net income on the average of the 263,770. So if you wanted to see all the math to get there, it's on the sheet in the office. But it basically meant I crossed out the real estate taxes. He changed the dollars on the expenses. He gave me the change on the net operating income. And then he gave me the change, on the net operating income. So that's what I mean by not good notes. I didn't write every one of those numbers, those 6 or 8 numbers that he gave. 1, 2, 3, 6, 8 numbers he gave me over the phone. I don't have those in my notes, but
this is Harold.
Was the number he was speaking to.
This appeal was heard on the phone yesterday, I believe, and it was recorded in the Old Town Hall, just like all of our hearings were. So if someone wishes to check those numbers, they can find the recording in our file, in the BA file.
Okay, and I have one other question. You said it's on the sheet at the office?
So in other words, do you see the paper that's on page 8 and 9 and 10? Those 2 pieces of paper, that he submitted it like that. But when we were on the phone, he asked me to make corrections to, if you look at like the middle of them, he takes out the real estate taxes. He says less RE taxes. So he didn't want, he said that was a mistake. So he wanted to put them back in. So he gave me the new number for total expenses and net operating income on the 4 charts that are there. And I only wrote down the one for on my own fit notes at home on the last one. I wrote down the net operating income, instead of being 321, is now 263,770.
Okay, which office are you referring to? You said it's at the office.
Yeah, in Ross's office. I did the calls yesterday from town hall. So it's in the assessor's office in the file. And I did ask Ross to go to the back, because I had the purple folder with me in town hall. So I took it on the physical file and then put it back. I wasn't at home, so I didn't print it out. I had the physical papers, and I took notes on the papers, put them back in the purple folder, put them in the office, and forgot to make myself a copy of those 2 pages when I left.
Well, we could just request the assessor to scan them into the file.
And I did. He just didn't get to it today when I realized. Yeah. So like I said, if we want to take no action, if people feel like, they would prefer to wait to get copies of those numbers, or you can do the math, someone can do the math.
Oh, this
It's
is
not
Harold.
complicated. I just,
I'm okay. I mean, I can go forward. I just had those questions that I just wanted to ask. That's all.
yeah.
Okay. Is it, Harold, anyone have anything else? Okay. In that case, I will call a vote. All those in favor of granting the appellant's market value, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I have. Excuse me. I said all those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested value? How many, please raise your hand by indicating you are in favor of granting this appeal as requested. That's okay. All those opposed, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you. I was having difficulty counting on my screen. Abstentions. Paulette, how do you vote?
I'm abstaining.
Thank you. The motion does not carry. The appeal is not granted. The vote is 0, 5, 2 abstentions from Paulette and Judy. Thank you.
I see, like, I know Alexis, we're trying to get Fairfield Beach, but since she's not here, I can put one in. Kathleen, do you want to do more? Are you and I the only ones with appeals left? Judy? I mean,
Judy has commercials too. Yeah.
do you want to present any tonight, Judy? Or, or I still have a real estate to do?
Why don't you take care of your commercial? I'll do your one commercial left, Catherine.
Yeah, she did it.
We did it.
Oh, you already did it. Oh, okay.
I was just going to.
I've got one. There is one that I would like to do. And I just want to confirm this with Kathleen, because we had 3 appeals, 122, 123, and 124. And I'm still showing 122. Wait a minute. Where is it?
Never where you want it to be if it's a
Yeah. I'm still showing 122 open.
Okay,
And 123 and 124. Can you just double check that?
This is Harold. I see that a decision was made on this and it was denied.
Okay. I know we did 123 and 124. And I think when Kathleen got, I don't know, for some reason, okay.
Sorry, yeah, we denied them all on the same day on April 21st. We did all 3 of them together, it looks like, and we denied them all at once, yeah. Or they were all on the same day.
That's right, okay.
Yeah.
It should have been, and I don't know why I saw something. Okay.
I go back to doing a house? Are we gonna stay with commercial?
You can do, I mean, if you want to do, what do you have, one left on Mill Hill? You've got one real estate left?
And then I have the
Or a couple
land
real estate?
too. So I do have two left, but I can do the house. I mean, like I just trying to get to until the Alexis.
No, I think so. Yeah, I'd like to do the Ukrainian club tonight sometime, but that one will be interesting.
do it
but, what?
Want to do it now?
Want me to do it now? Okay.
Oh, you know what? Let me just finish one on this little one. I've got one on Post Road. I've got more than that, but this is in like, I have two files on this, two little notebooks. This will finish off one notebook. They'll make it a lot easier for tomorrow. Okay. This is appeal number 633. And the property owner's name is Irma Maddock. And the property location is at 2551, 2537 Post Road in Southport. The town's value is $1,712,500. The appellant's opinion of fair market value is $1,330,000. And I make a motion to approve the appellant's opinion of market value of $1,330,000. Is there a second?
This is Harold. I'll second.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have some interesting information here. The property does need a lot of work. You've got to look at some of these pictures. Hold on. I'm going to get, oh yeah, I want you to go to page 10 and 11 and 12. And look at the state of this building. It really is in exterior disrepair. At least on the outside, you can only see that. And generally on the outside, inside, it's not too much better. So there's a lot of deferred maintenance there. It does need a roof. They bought it in 2017 for 1.25. And all of this deferred maintenance, we have issues. So yeah, you're going to look at it and say, oh, well, that's 3 years and they bought it 1.25. They're still actually putting in appreciation. But it needs a new roof. If you were to look at that, $42,000. It needs new siding, $87,000. It needs a new air conditioning, that's $28,000. Needs new heating, $78,000. So we did get a number. She supplied a number of comps. Let's see whether she included them here or she just told them to me. You can take a look at this. So now she did supply tenant information and INE. And the comps that we spoke about were 79 South Benson Road. Let me see whether she put anything in here. 79 South Benson, I'm just going to go over them. 200 Mill Plain, 575 Villa, and 95 Harbor. We have a letter from Robert Lewis, is from Vidal Wettenstein. Vidal Wettenstein is a longstanding commercial brokerage. I actually know Bruce Wittenstein, which is where the company's name from, and Randy Vidal. I don't even know if Randy's still living, but is Vidal Wittenstein. And Robert Lewis, I actually met probably 30 years ago. So these guys have been in business for a very long time. He, on page 26, he gave a report. He says the value between 1,330 and 1,511. And I absolutely trust the professionalism of Robert. Like I said, I've known him over 30 years. This is all he's ever done is commercial real estate. I got out of commercial real estate.
This is Harold. I have a question. We do have a motion on this and has been seconded.
Who you seconded it? Did we vote on that? I think you seconded a vote. Did we make a vote?
No, I didn't call a vote yet. I was just curious to know, there are multiple tenants in this building?
Yeah, you know what? I think that's because there's two buildings here.
Yep, that's what it looks like. This is Kathleen. Ross, can you call it up on the GIS? I think sometimes that's helpful.
It looks like page 20 of the appeal has a lovely chart listing all the tenants and perhaps the money they collected or that they're charged, probably what they've collected.
Yeah, didn't I mention that? I probably didn't mention the page, but I said there's a tenant information.
Oh, that's always, so it looks like, you know, there's 13 offices. I mean, some may have more than one, like one tenant may take more than the office, one office. And about 6 apartments that look right. So it's residential, one building's residential and the other's commercial, Judy? Is that what? Just trying to get what the picture is.
Yeah, 2551 looks like that is, well, you know what? I don't have that information. I'm not sure that's absolutely true. Oh,
2 buildings versus 1 and has a lot. Okay. I think the buildings just look so similar, but one looks like it's office space and the other seems to be residential. Or that's what I was just wondering.
So is this appeal for all 3 buildings that we see?
it's for 2551 through 2537.
Yeah, the value is 1.7 if on the cards this is Kathleen, 1.712. So if that's what you put on the cover, then yes, let's see all of them. 1,000,007. Yeah, so that's what you put on the front. So I would say both.
So this is Harold. The buildings vary in age and condition. I mean, that gray building, the larger office building, or I don't know if any of that is the residential. I mean, it's a fine looking building. Certainly the pictures that we saw of the one that needed some repairs, it's a whole different story, but we don't have the pictures of the nice buildings.
Harold, this is Ross. It's just the 2 buildings that you can see on the screen now.
So it's 2 buildings. Thank you.
Just 2. These 2 in the the parking lot bows out where the street is there, and then this driveway, I believe, belongs to the building to the left.
So the landline is to the left of the building with the snow on the roof. Okay, thank you.
I don't know if that's snow.
I don't. Looks like snow.
It's decreased rent roll, and which is a big issue, and the condition of the building. That's why she's asking for relief. All of this. When she does permits, it'll go back up again. But she gave 79 South Benson as a comp, and that is on page 49. That closed at 1.4. Actually, I see that was in 2016, but that's one of the comps that she gave. 200 Mill Plain. That was also in 16. 600. So I mean, I see that the comps are a little older. We've got 2 buildings that are not. That both need repair, and she's looking. I don't see the change or the request as being unreasonable. Not on this one, not on this one. If anybody's driven by that building, you're gonna know.
Ross, could you take that yellow off for a second? This is John. Now, there's apartments in here, right, Judy?
That's what it looks like.
Okay. Just an observation, but I would expect, I don't know when this photo was taken, but there's no cars in the parking lot. Which seems really odd to me that it looks like it's taken during the day and all the residents of the apartments would be out. That's just, make what you want of it, but it just seems really odd in that photo.
That's a really astute observation because I don't think anybody's going there to take the picture on Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
Right, and that would also mean that nobody's there on commercial either.
Yeah. But it just seems kind of odd to me. I would expect at least with an apartment that there would be at least one car there. But I mean, there are only according to her on page 20, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looks like 6 apartments there. And at least starting in September, 4 of the 6 were rented. Before that, 5 of the 6 were rented. So,
Well, I'm just gonna look again a little bit. And, there's a lot of work on these. I think if you look on page 2, there's, she's got more work than even that I mentioned.
This is Harold. So is she focusing on income expense calculations to support a case, or is it comps, or a combination of the two?
Well, she talked about the decreased rent roll and the condition in the building, and the realtor's opinion. So, with those 3 things, the realtor's opinion, I hold great weight in that because, as I said, I've known her for 30 years. She's been in business a long time, and it's a reputable firm.
And the range of the opinion is 1,330,000 up to 1,511,000.
Right.
I do notice, and again, to the elder states people on the phone, Kathleen and Harold here, I do notice that there was a BAA change in 2018. So that I'm assuming there was some kind of change made, and that change came off during the reval period. So that's why it jumped up. At least the appraised value looks to have jumped up 400,000, close to 400,000. 300,000, sorry. I don't know if Kathleen or Harold, do you remember this?
This is Harold. I can't say that I recall, quite honestly.
No, it's next to the Ravis building, right? Or one of those,
Mhm.
there's a couple there, just before you get to River Street,
Right.
south side of the Post Road. I mean, this is Kathleen. So does anyone have a comment on her, her rent there and what her expenses are? She says her expenses are 143 in 2020 and her rent is 101. The rent, it just seems, the numbers on the rent, I can't quite.
It looks like she rents for, in a good year where they're all renting for about 125,000. And the expenses, obviously there's disrepair on page 20, what is that, 21? The disrepair, because most of those expenses are repair items.
Right.
So
And do you typically include those in your annual expenses, your repair costs? Yes, like that?
well, repair supply, obviously she's got a lot of repair.
Mm-hmm.
I hope she's a contractor because she's been off quite a bit on this property.
Yeah.
But
By
she
the
has
way,
the Warner Hill property too.
Yes, this is the same owner that purchased the Warner Hill property at 375 Warner Hill. So I guess she has a taste for maintenance and construction.
And
Oh, she
I-
got a lot of maintenance due on this. You know, I mean, if everybody's ready, let's do the 1-330. I mean, look at this. Look at all these vacancies in here, and it's not going to change anytime soon unless she puts all that money into it. And when she puts the money into it, if she gets the permits, then things can change again for the town. But right now, it's what it is.
Now, the realtor focused on the resale value of this property, not necessarily the income.
He made a general statement.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So-
like the 150, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say,
1,000,005.
I mean, I would not be opposed to granting in part at towards the higher estimate of the realtor, as opposed to the lower.
I appreciate that, and I'm still looking at what you said with regards to what needs to happen. Needs the new roof for 42,000, new siding 87,000, new air conditioning 28,000, new heating 78,000. So those altogether, that's 150, 165, that's 205. You know, we're talking almost $250,000 worth of work here.
So this is Kathleen, one quick question. Some of those apartments are renting for very low rates, like $400
Yeah,
a
because
month.
they got to be super tiny.
That's what I'm
and-
saying. Is that affordable housing at that rate or no? At
No,
400?
it wouldn't make a difference if it was, but no, not to the best of my knowledge. I think we would know that, and I think that the appellant would actually mention it if it was.
This is Harold. I would like to announce that Alexis has joined us. So I think that we are all considering perhaps an amended,
No, I'm not.
not all, you're right. But some of us,
Really, like I really feel very strongly about the 1-330 for her with the amount of work that needs to be done. And remember that anytime that she goes to do this work, she's going to have permits, and it's going to be done, and the assessment's going to go up.
This is Paul. Oh, sorry, Judy, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go right ahead.
I agree with Judy, and remember, and maybe I shouldn't say remember, let me just clarify that when a realtor gives a price range, there's a reason for it. They don't want to be locked into a price, because when they look at a property in that condition, I can tell you that, okay, I'll give you a range of X to Y, and if you get to Y with your repairs, we're on the high number. If you don't do any of them, we're on the low number. If you do some, we're in the middle. So that range accounts for the work that needs to be done. So voting in part at $1.5 million something isn't really going to help her, because then she's going to put another 2 into it, and she'll be right back into it for $1.7 million. I recommend, and I would vote for the lower number and stick and go along with what Judy's saying for those reasons.
Yeah, she's going to end up paying as soon as she does the work. But right now, it's not in 1551 state. You saw the pictures. This is, it's not rocket science. And you see the rent roll, and you see that she's got, they're minimal. She's got a lot of people, a lot of apartments, or a lot of space is empty in there. Let's do the right thing by this one.
This is Kathleen. Her land is at $1 million. The town has her land at $1,039,000. So the buildings are at 650, right? 660. So we're basically, assuming her land is valuable, there's a couple large office buildings next to it. We would be bringing her buildings down to a total of about 200 if we took her to the 133.
Those buildings are probably better torn down. This is probably better as a land value
300.
with the amount of work that needs to be done.
or if we
Most
consider,
likely functionally obsolete buildings as well.
or if you consider that taking $250,000 for the repairs off of the town's value of the building, then that gets you down to the, just below what the high value was of the real estate.
Yes, and when it's done with her work, that's value, but for now, it's not.
And meanwhile, she is getting the rent.
We
Well,
recognize,
they're not all rented though. I don't know how she's making this building work without putting any money into it.
That's what,
Thank you, Catherine, right?
well, that's part of me that says she bought it in 2017 and she didn't put any of those permits in 2018 or 2019. I understand not putting them in during COVID, but that's the part that I'm having a harder time with, but I'm following everybody's, but I just wish she had started those. She paid $1 million too. If she had put the $250,000 in then, we would have been at the 1.5 million. And, you know, now it just makes it more harder for me to say, well, she didn't do that 250 when she bought it. Wasn't that her plan?
All right, all right, so let's look at
But she
the price, the real estate broker, commercial broker said 1,511,000. If we're gonna make we were to grant in part to 1,511, does that seem like something that everybody would do? I would want to give her something.
That's a value that I could live with, yes.
Yes, me too.
it's funny how we can never live with the real number. We have to pick one and then live with that one, but whatever.
Well, explain
Rather
to me
do that than
what
have
the
to
real
get
number
zero.
is.
I'm sorry?
Explain to me what the real number is.
I just told you, I don't have to. The real estate agent gave you a range. I explained what that range means. You don't want to consider that. You just want to go with a number that you're comfortable with, because we certainly want to we wouldn't want to reduce it too much and cost the town and ourselves more money. So let's pick.
I'm in favor of doing something for this appellant. And I don't know what you meant by real number.
So this is Kathleen. I'll make a motion to grant this appeal in part and reduce the appraised value to $1,511,000.
I'll second it.
Ridiculous.
I hope it's incentive to make the capital improvements that because that's what it would be if she had made the capital improvements. So it will get there.
That was my thinking as well. Any further discussion? All those in favor of granting the amended value of $1,511,000?
Yes.
Please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 in favor. Opposed? Abstentions? I have 1 abstention from Alexis. Paulette, how do you vote?
I'm not in favor.
Okay, thank you. The
You're welcome.
motion is carried to the amended value of $1,511,000. Now we have to vote on that. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. On the amended motion, yeah.
All right. Now to vote on the amended value of $1,511,000. All those in favor of granting in part to $1,511,000, please raise your hand. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 in favor. Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstain.
Alexis abstains. Paulette?
I'm not in favor. I'm opposed.
All right.
I'm in favor of what she asked for, so I'm opposed to this.
I understand. So the vote is 6 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 abstention. Opposed is Paulette. The abstention is Alexis. Thank you.
Harold, you just turned on my Alexa.
I'm sorry, what?
My God, mine too, please.
I said Alexis?
Yeah, it happens in my house all day, believe me, all day.
Oh my gosh. Oh
Alexis,
my gosh.
I'm-
Okay.
I can't think of two things at the same time. Sorry, apologize. Alexis.
It's funny. So you see me go mute for like a couple of seconds. I'm turning off my personal assistant.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Alexis, are you ready? Or wait a minute, or is Kathleen or like Alexis? I don't know. Who's going next?
I think we want to hand over to Alexis because we still have quite a few Fairfield Beach properties.
Yeah, a few, and actually I've given, and per your suggestion, Harold, when you called me the other day, I gave one to Paulette to help me with, and that was, I'm not sure if she's ready, but
I'm pretty much ready.
okay. So if we can defer to, this is appeal number 523, I believe.
523?
Yeah.
You ready for me to go? Alexis?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 523. Let me pull that up. I don't have it in front of me. Take me a second. The appellate's name, before I start with the actual appeal, 523, I'm going to say that when the appellate came in, of course, he was sworn in like everybody else. And so now I'm swearing myself in, so there'll be no mistake that what I'm saying might not be exact and factual. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. For the record. It's appeal number 523, Mr. Neil Edelson and Jean Landau. The address is 2030 Fairfield Beach Road. I make a motion that we, well, I'm to do this backwards. I'll make a motion that we're going to, that I'm in favor of granting the appeal for what the appellate is seeking. However, he didn't give a number of like, $1 million, $1.2 million. He did it in square footage amounts. And I forgot about that earlier, but I did here. There it is. Okay. His opinion of value for his land, he's questioning his land component, to be closer to 265 to 285, 265,000, 285,000, as opposed to what the town had given him, where his land value is about 508,760, an increase of 163,800 in his assessed value. Before he purchased the property, there was a small ranch, a 900 square foot ranch.
Motion.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I just did that, didn't I? Make a motion to do
Do you have
that.
a second then? Okay, yeah, did we get a second?
I'll second.
Oh.
Do we need a number though? Do we need an absolute number?
So this is Kathleen. I mean, we kind of do. Alexis called me in at the end of his appeal because we both tried to tell him that he was frustrated because he didn't quite know what the number should be. And we sort of tried to tell him, in order to meet statute, you need to give us a number. So I went back and listened to the end of it too, because I had it as a blank number. I thought he said 950, somewhere between 950 and 975. So if we want to pick the lower of those two values to give him the benefit of the doubt, I don't know if he ever wrote it down, or I just know, he.
Actually, you're right.
Actually, Harold, can I just add something here, Harold?
Yes, Alexis, go ahead.
Yeah, and Kathleen, you did email me about Mr. Edelson, I think a week or two ago, about his number, and I did follow up with him. I did call him, and he did indicate he was asking to bring it to his value. He believed was $950,000.
950. Okay.
Great.
Yep.
All
Thank
right. By the way, you heard this appeal, Alexis, correct? Originally. And I believe I remember that there was some altercation or some loud talk between you and Mr. Edelson at the time. I don't know if
Can you mean? I don't know what you mean by loud talk or altercation. We had a very civil conversation.
Well, I thought that there was. Well, let me ask this, Paulette. Did you listen to the tape?
I did not listen to the tape. I spoke with Mr. Edelson when Alexis asked me to take over the appeal. I found
Okay.
him to be.
Mr.
lovely.
Chairman, can you just elaborate on an altercation? I mean, that's
Well, I
pretty
think
strong
that
language.
there was some debate on whether he could give a value for the land or not.
Yeah, this is Kathleen. I think I wouldn't say altercation. I just think
No,
he was,
debate.
That's a
frustrated.
very inappropriate comment to make. I hope you detract that from the record.
No, I'm correcting myself. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm correcting myself in real time. I didn't mean that. I just meant that there was some discrepancy between what you were asking and what he was willing to give.
Can we
I
strike
think-
that
I think-
word
I- you know, I think-
altercation from the record? Can we strike that?
We can go
Yeah.
on. I just was, I was interested if Paulette, in doing her preparation, had an opportunity to hear the tape as it was presented. So I'll leave that as it is.
Anyway, Mr. Eldis and I had a good spirited conversation, no altercations.
No.
And I think there was just some confusion about some things, but I think it was, alleviated that night. And then we also had a nice follow-up conversation, last week. So I think it's.
That's excellent.
no
It
question
was a
his-
poor choice of words, and I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay, no apologies necessary. Thank you.
All right, Paulette, please continue.
Okay, so let's start that motion again because my error, I wasn't clear. I make a motion to approve the appellate's requested value of $950,000, and that's the appraised value, not the assessed value.
I'll second that, Judy.
Okay,
Yes, and for the record, the town value is $1,243,500.
thank you. Prior to the home that's there now, there was a 900 square foot ranch that was removed. This house was built. The lot is very, very small. It's like 0.10. It's only a little over 4,000 square feet of property. They were only allowed to build a home that fit in the original footprint. So the home that was constructed ends up about 1,800 square. That takes up just about the entire lot. He has literally nothing behind him, probably just enough to walk through, and a driveway on the property. There's no other grassy areas. There's no other recreational areas on this property. It was the highest best use of the property because at least they got to have a house that was a decent size for living. Not, certainly not anything huge. He has no dock. And while the house is FEMA compliant, there has been a zone change from FEMA. Originally, that was an AE zone. Now it's called a VE zone, high velocity zone, which changes his flood insurance. So even though it's technically is FEMA compliant, someone purchasing a house built when his was built or newer is faced with a flood insurance policy of over $10,000. His policy is $10,000 because he did not insure the contents of the home. Why I make that point is because people talk about the FEMA compliant flood insurance is not expensive. In this case, it is. Homes that were built prior to the change in this zone change, a new buyer can assume the flood insurance policy that's in existence. Therefore, they may pay $3,000, $900. It all depends on where they are, where they fall in the floodplain, and what the insurance policy was written for. People buying his house in the future will not have that. And there's other homes, like he's not the only home, other homes like that too. They will not have that. So he cut his insurance payment to $10,000 by not insuring the contents of the home, only the structure. He has no access to the beach. Now, as far as comps, we had a long talk about that because he didn't really put them in his appeal. We discussed the different comps, discussed the neighborhoods, which we went over, the difference in the way the beach area has now been split, Fairfield Beach Road, into different sections. Now, I know I'm opposed to that, but I realized more than I did before in going over this with him. The neighborhoods split up like that make it extremely difficult for an appellant to pull comps that the board is going to accept. The limited number of houses in the zones, if one doesn't sell, what are we going to do? I'll tell you that I'll pick a comp and you'll tell me, but that's not in the right neighborhood. It's not in the right zone. It's not the right code. Well, you can't always have one in the code. Last night we didn't work out, but we did have one in the code. It's not so easy to find them. That's why appraisers don't use it. You just can't do it. It's too much of a change. I couldn't adjust something like that, and neither can an appellant. So he's restricted by the town in his ability to provide comps to prove his case to satisfy the board. So we went through some comps, see what we can come up with. he feels that the best comp for him, and I would tend to agree to some extent, is 1270 Fairfield Beach Road. It's on the creek side. Land is a little bit larger than his. The home is 1,960 square feet, which is slightly larger than his. And that land is appraised at $604,000. A sale on the beach road, on Fairfield Beach Road at 1690 Fairfield Beach Road, sold in July 30th of 2020. That was a 1,672 square foot home with a 0.12.
What was the number on the? Oh,
I'm sorry?
What's the number on the second one?
1690 Fairfield Beach Road.
Uh-huh.
That sold on July 30th of 2020. The property is slightly larger at 0.12 of an acre. The house is slightly smaller at 1,672 square feet. The asking price was $10.90 and it sold for $10.50, $1,090,000, and then sold for $1,050,000. So those were the two most recent solds, similar to his. There is another home at 1460 Fairfield Beach Road. That land is appraised at $750,000. However, it's a third of an acre with a 2,600 square foot home on it. Now, one thing that he spoke about, which was interesting to me because I hadn't looked at it this way, is when you look at where he is on the creek side, he faces South Pine Creek Road and Old Dam Road. They're directly across from him. And while
Excuse
they're
me,
not,
I'm sorry, Ross, can you call up the GIS? I think that helps when you show the property. Sorry, Paulette.
that's okay. I'll wait for Ross to bring it up.
And the two sales again were 1690 and what was it, 1270?
To that page, hang on a second. I flipped the page. Wait a minute. Okay, 1690, and the other one was not a sale. The other one was it looks like it's a sale, but it was an in-family transfer. This was not recently sold, but it was 1270 Fairfield Beach Road as a comp for similar size land, similar size property with a much lower land value, assessed land value.
There's something I feel like I really have to say. On page 10, you'll see the field card. Look at a picture of that house. Upon first glance, it looks big and grand. It's not, because you see that the house is elevated. It's only as big as this house looks like it might be. It's only 1,800 square feet. We really need to remember that. So look at that picture, but remember, and whoever they designed it, they did a good job. But that house is not big for the beach. It's very small. It's small. It just has a grander look to it. So don't look at that picture and think, oh my gosh, this house is absolutely wonderfully grand. It's really not. It's small. It's a lot smaller than it appears.
Yeah.
And to correct the comp on 1270 Fairfield Beach Road, that land, the 604 land value, that's the appraised value, not the assessed value. That was my mistake. So does Ross have that? Does he have that? Do you have that map up, or you want me to keep going?
Yeah, this is Kathleen. I see it.
Okay. So he's right across from the creek. So basically, they're mirror properties. One faces from one side, one faces the other side, but they're looking over the same body of water. Pine Creek Avenue property, now different neighborhood, but still very similar location as far as where it is facing the water.
That's a very smart comp.
Yeah,
That's
that was
smart comp.
I can't take credit for that. That was Mr. Edelson, but he did it. That was a really good way to look at it, a real creative way of coming up with another idea to look at the property values. At 433 Pine Creek Avenue, 464 Pine Creek Avenue, 444 and 445. Those are, if you pull up the little cursor thing, you'll see that those pretty much back up. They kind of they're not too far from his on the other side. So if you're looking at exact locations, those are pretty similar locations to his. Then if you go down the street where it becomes Old Dam Road, we have some comps there as well. So to go through those fairly quickly, 433 Pine Creek Avenue has 9,920 square feet of property. Appraised value is $606,600. 464 Pine Creek has 60,886 square feet of property. And that value there on the assessment, on the appraisal rather, is 1054. It's more than his, but it's huge. It's like almost 60,000 square feet more than what he has. 444 Pine Creek Avenue, 0.228 acres, 606,600, the appraised value. 454 Pine Creek, 0.468 acres. On that one. Old Dam Road, 151 Old Dam, 235 Old Dam, 255 Old Dam. 151 Old Dam, the land value, the land appraisal there is 553, and that's 10,356 square feet. 235 Old Dam is 0.68, and that is 526 for the appraisal. And 255 is 0.11 of an acre. And that, I'm sorry, 0.15 of an acre, which comes out to a value of $521,000 on the appraised value. So his appraisal is high.
This is Harold. I don't know if this has been accounted for by anyone previously, but I'm looking at the card and I'm looking on the second page of some of these cards under the heading of cost and market valuation. And I'm looking at how the building is valued, and in comparing the number that I see here of the building value, even after the percentage good is calculated, of 512,200, whereas I think you mentioned the 1690 property, the building value there after depreciation is 132,600.
Yes, but he's not appealing his building value. He's interested only in the value of the land.
Okay, well, the land value, 1690 is certainly less. Yep.
So
It's about half.
But it's only 2480 square feet.
Which one are you on? Because I'm looking at a piece of paper.
1690 is
1690.
2,480
Yep.
square feet. And the subject property has 4,311 square feet.
I have to look that up because that's not what I have.
Is that the square footage of the land, Harold? Because I think she said
That's the land. There's
That's the land.
4,351 square feet of land on the property at 2030 Fairfield Beach Road.
2030 Fairfield Beach Road has square footage on the property of 4,351 square feet. I believe. Yes, it does. Yep. Yeah, and 16, and that's at 0.10. 1690 has 0.12 of an acre. The house square footage is 1672.
And there's a condition factor on the subject property of 0.9. I assume that it's the same on the 1690 comp that you mentioned. And yes, it is. It is.
Yeah. This is Kathleen. There's a sale at 1522 Fairfield Beach Road, similar lot size. The lot is 0.125. What is he, 0.1? And that one also has a condition factor of 0.9 on the land. It looks like it's a bigger house at 3,800 square feet, but the value for the land on that property is 747. So, and there's a couple other sales too, and the land value, we had a $700,000 land sale only on the creek side. May have been a little bit bigger lot, but.
Well, how big is the lot then?
Yeah, let me look and see which was the land only sale.
I like the sale of 1690. I mean, that sold for 1050. Do I have that right, Paulette? It was a
You did,
sale
it was- they were
last
ask-
summer. I'm sorry, Paulette.
That's right. They were asking 1090 and they got 1050 for it.
1050, and it sold last summer.
It sold in the end of July. Yeah.
Yep. So I really like that. And
I do
since I'm not as familiar with, we all have our things that we like to focus in on, and I do like a sale. And that has a dock. Is it like in a really different area, or with that whole tide thing going on? Where is 1690 compared to the subject 2030?
I don't think 1690 has a dock though, does it? I didn't see that on the card.
I see
looked
it under
on-
outbuildings and yard items.
I looked it up on Realtor. Because again, I'm going to go with the sale price. That's just something that speaks to me, especially when it's hard to find, these sales. I totally get it. But is 1690 in like a far superior or inferior location?
No, I wouldn't say it's a far superior location. Once you get down into like, when you get to those numbers, 15, 16, 17, go on, they're not, it's different. They kind of look the same. You drive down there, you don't know which one looks different than the other. It's not like it's a protected area. It's not like the ones at the beginning of the beach.
So do you think like 1690 is a better area than 2030, or no? It's the same.
No,
I
think
it's a similar feel. It's not like way down the end there.
no, it's not like you're going, when you get really down the end where like it's really tight, you can barely get the car. And you're like, no, it's not like that. No.
So this one is kind of like the same feel as the subject. That's all I'm trying to get, because
yeah.
Okay.
And the one that Kathleen brought up at 1522, that's got over 5,000 square feet of property and twice the size house.
And look, for me, I'm not saying it for everybody. For me, the sale speaks to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're supposed to be looking for market value, and because there aren't a lot of them, it's hard to get.
So,
here's one that's a good one.
Good thing you found it, or good thing you're, because I really like that one. So Paulette,
Yes.
Here it is. I like that one in a lot of ways. Why do you think the subject property should be 100,000 less than that one? Because he's going for 950.
Okay.
And this one sold for 1050.
Yeah. It had also, there's just a little bit difference in the size of the property. I should have noticed, and I apologize for not noticing, about the dock. John said he didn't see one.
No, there's definitely a dock. I don't know.
There's not one on the card listed on the card.
There's
No.
definitely.
That dock is for the property next door.
It's listed it looks really, well, maybe they own the property next door, so would,
Do they? I don't know if they own that.
no, and I'm just trying to find the tent, like that property. So
They definitely have a dock there.
but 1690 that sold, did that sell with that 1700 Fairfield Beach Road? Because yes, it does look like the dock is there. And maybe it didn't sell with the dock. It's just in the Realtor picture. That's the source for it really looks like it's part of it.
Marketing.
And the marketing says your boater's paradise in a prime location with a coveted dock.
At the ready.
So do we know if 1690 sold for $1,050,000 because it included 1,700? Is my question making sense? I don't want to
Maybe Kathleen, I don't see it noted on the card. We can look at the deed.
I don't want
This is
to
Harold.
down.
This is Harold. I think if you're looking at the land units of 1690 being 2,480 square feet, I don't think it includes the land, the lot next to it. I think that 1,700 is not included in the 2,480 square feet. And the 2,480 square feet is more than half of what the subject property land is. So I think if we're focusing just on the land value, I think we need to point out that the land units are less on 1690 than the subject property. So that is certainly to be considered if the appellant is claiming that his land value is too high.
The value on 1700, I just looked it up.
Yep.
It's the same owners,
Hmm.
but the value on that is 53,000.
That's the assessed value. The appraised value is 77,000. And
Right.
and Paulette, not to be a downer, but I do see that the 1700 was also was purchased. Actually, it looked like it changed hands twice in 2020, one in June, one in August. The one in August to the current owners. Both of those were unqualified sales, and also the sale of 1690, I believe, was an unqualified sale as well. I
Yeah.
don't know what made it an unqualified sale with it.
Well, then I
This is
want to hear.
Kathleen, I do think the same owner owns both of them, and I think they appealed, actually. I'm just gonna check. I seem to remember that one because it's got the little gardener's cottage on the second property, and there's two creek lots next to each other. Town has the second lot at 77,000 appraised. So he probably did buy the two lots for, I think he appealed. I'll look and see, but what was the last name on it? The pictures look really familiar. MacGyver.
Okay. So
Let me check. There was one that looked like that appealed this year. Might not be
The
that.
current owner is Williams.
It'd be really
William.
nice. Let me know when you're all done, please.
I'm really sorry, Paulette. I didn't mean, I just wanted to know 16. I thought that was a great.
No,
and
I was fine with that. I was happy with that. Because that's what I thought. It was nice to hear somebody agree with that. But now
that's where now I got us in trouble because I'm saying, okay, so why would it sell for
Um,
1,000 more?
Guys,
Yeah.
I'm trying to say something. I didn't realize that I was on mute.
I'm sorry.
When this property was sold, 1690 was sold. There's a note in the MLS that says the taxes and assessment include both parcels, 1690 and 1700. Okay.
Right. This was Ronique's appeal, and he was the one who was trying to appeal his creek lot only, but he filled out the paperwork and appealed his main 1690 only. And so that's the
remember
one
that.
where we looked at the two together, right? That's this property, and we combined the town's value on the two properties, and it was, together, the town had him at less than what he paid for it at $1,050,000. So that's why it has a dock, and he says he has his garden on it. So that was Ronique's appeal. I remember that. And we decided on that one. Like I said, it was a sale, so we added the two prices together, I'm pretty sure. And, he was.
So when we're looking at the sale of 1690, remember it also includes this the 1700. That's just important because that's
Yes,
important to our evaluation of this. Is
Right.
that you, Catherine?
And that explains why he would like to be the subject property should be less. Look at what
Right.
you got. You
Correct.
didn't just get the house and that you didn't just get 1690 for $1,050,000.
got 1700.
I'm good. So
like
sorry, I went down that, but
No, actually it worked out well. I'm glad you did. But now I'd like to hear from the assessor if he's there. Why is this an unqualified sale?
Two lots, probably.
Because it was a multi-parcel sale.
So there's no
And
other
as
reason.
I've mentioned, when we report to the state, we cannot report multi-parcel sales as a valid sale. So we
Okay.
unqualify all multi-parcel sales.
Okay, so that's for that reason. It's not like it's an inter-family sale. It's bought from an estate. That would be different. This is just the way the state makes you report it. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So there, I think that answers the question about unqualified. To me, that's not an unqualified sale in the same way as the different type when it involves family members or an estate. I don't think that selling those two parcels together qualifies it from consideration.
I would agree with that.
Okay. So I think that's why he's like Catherine said, I think that's why he's thinking he should be $100,000 less. They're paying 16 something in taxes. He's already paying 20. They have bigger land. So I don't really see a problem with this. I think that he's done a lot of work on it. I think he thought out of the box and tried to go across the way to see if those sales would help. But in actuality, the one right on Fairfield Beach Road is the one that really best suits, his needs.
Well, didn't he buy the property in 2015 for over $1 million?
I don't care. I don't care what he paid for it in 2015.
Well, I know you don't care, but that's a fact.
It is,
right?
no,
He
here's
bought the property.
We are looking at 2019 to 2020. What he paid for it in 2015 really doesn't matter, because I looked up some properties today and they paid more in 2015 than they're being valued today. The market changes up and down, up and down, up and down. It doesn't continue to rise on a steady incline. If you can't vote for it because you got to think in your head about 2015, that's fine. Can we continue? I'm as far as I'm concerned, I'm comfortable with it. I think Catherine is, unless I'm mistaken, Catherine. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, I appreciate asking. I sent us down that rabbit hole. I needed that.
I'm coming.
Other questions.
I have another question or maybe concern. I'm looking at the 1700 Fairfield Beach property, right? And granted, yes, it's only 0.062, but you combine those together with the 1769, so that brings the total to about 1.11 or 0.11, 0.12. But what I notice is that even if you combine the concern I have with it is that when you combine the 1700 land, which is valued at a 0.1, and then for a condition, and then the house is on a 0.9, whereas the appellant's is all 0.9. And I don't know if I'm making, if you guys are following me or not with that. So
I'm following you. I think what you're saying is that part of that land is valued at like 100%, and the appellate's land is valued at like 90%. Is that what you're getting at?
what I'm saying is that when you combine 1690 and 1700, the 1700 land is valued at a different rate than the 1690 land, whereas the appellant has just one parcel of land, and that's all at the same price of 0.9.
Okay, but I'm not sure I understand.
Well, I think I can put it this way. If the land was combined, it would all be a 0.9.
That's true.
Okay.
Well, but yeah, this is Kathleen. That's the town's value on the property. We don't know if that's right or not. What we try to look at is the sale price. So for $1,050,000, right? They got a house, and how much land did he get for $1,050,000? Because to him, he's got a dock at 5,700 or whatever. We can deal with that. But how many square feet did he end up with it at the end? He started with 24. Pretend it's one lot, regardless of how the town considers it. 2480. And what's the square footage on the 1700 lot?
I gotta go back.
I can tell you that is 2,714 square feet.
Yeah, but plus the other, that's 1690 and 1700. You got to add those two.
So it's 5194 is
5194 square feet. So pretend that's one lot. So he's got a house, he's got 5,100 square foot. And in the subject properties, how big is that lot in square footage? 4351.
Yeah.
So it's slightly smaller when you compare it to that sale at 1050. Right. So the subject property, the difference between, it is, 1,000 square, or whatever it is, 700 square foot difference, 800 square foot difference. The difference is I mean, and looking at the card, the big difference is in the house, right? Because he's got a 2014 home, you know, it's got a grade 10 on it, it's FEMA compliant, it's got, you know, three bedrooms, 2.5 baths, you know, and it's new. And the subject properties is, I have to look at, or the sale property, you know, so the appellant's house is valued really
We
high.
tried this down this road last night. It was a pleasant road.
Yeah, the house is at 516. So, you know, even if you said their land together was similar in size and value, or maybe the subject property's land is a little smaller, it's the house that's making him so much different than that other one, because his house is at 516 and the 1690's house is at 136.4. So he's got, you know, according to the reval, he's got $400,000 more of value in his home. And is his house worth $400,000 more than, you know, that one right there, that house there? Because it's, I don't know, I'm just saying, 1,600, they're similar square footage.
Yeah, I won't be voting on the allocation. I'm looking at if I had $1 million and I had to choose between the older house, which is very, very well maintained, extra land and a dock, would I pay $100,000 more for that? Or I think they're, you know, comparable. I get however else we want to value things, but you know, I think we're a little lucky to have this sale because, as Paulette said in the beginning, you know, it's really hard to find sales down there.
And that 16. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Catherine. I'm sorry.
I won't be voting on an allocation. I will be voting on the full value. You know, the 950 that he wants to go to. I'm not going to go to the allocation. New house, smaller land.
I'm not either, because that house is in very good shape. I was in it. Now that I see the picture again, refresh myself. And the other thing is, it's not just that land is slightly larger and maybe it's not a big deal. If you drove down there, what you would see is the house sits on one lot. They're not deep lots. The lot next door is really their yard. They have a usable piece of property to do things on. Sit with your lawn chairs, throw a ball if they wanted to. It's not a large piece of property, but they have relief from being indoors and on the driveway. This makes a huge difference. Catherine's right. If I had to choose between the two, because that older house is in such good shape, I would take the older house, because
Yes,
I have room if I want to be outdoors. I can really.
You actually have some property there to enjoy. You've got nothing. You've got really like a planting strip, like a small garden area. Plant a row of tulips. That's what you got. It's a subject.
And
So,
how did he come up with the 950 number, Paulette?
Well, when we went through the comps and we looked at this in particular, and
The
some
sale.
of them,
Okay.
and he thinks, his house might be newer, but that house is in really good shape, and the yard makes a big difference, and the dock.
To me, they're functionally similar.
You're right; they are functionally similar. That's the best way to put it. And for
To me, they would swap. You know, they're both. I actually didn't see anything on the inside of the subject property, but I'm just going to assume that it's new construction, and it is. Looking at the pictures of the sale comp, it's open plan. I mean, I just renovated our beach condo, and it's a very similar style. So I know it's very current. It's very comparable to my beach rent. It definitely has a very new feeling.
It does. Yeah. I mean, I showed it to a buyer myself, and that they were going to go for it, but they have too many kids. They had like 5 kids. I was like, why are we looking at this? You have 5, but because they thought it was so nice inside. They liked the edge of the dock. They liked the piece of land on the side. It just didn't work for them. But it was a beautiful house.
So I just think they're functionally very comparable.
I agree.
Plus the other thing too is if you really look at the value of the house, his house is 6 years old. There's hardly any depreciation. So I think his house is overvalued, but I'm not going to get into that too much because I think we have a good comp. I think some of the board members recognize that. And I really do not see a problem with this. I think he's right on target with that based on the close comparison to this one.
And this is Kathleen, not the 1522 Fairfield Beach Road, because that's a similar, it's a little bit bigger lot at 5,300 square feet lot, 5,400 square feet on the creek. It's a different shape. And I know it's a much bigger house, but that sold for 2,000,001. That sold for 2,000,001 in February of this year.
Yes,
So that's a
2 million.
$2.1 million creekside sale. I don't know if they have a dock. I can look and see whether there's a dock. But it's a PC4 lot with a 0.9 condition factor on it. So,
And it
you know,
does
that's
seem though, Kathleen, it does seem though that they have 2,000 more square feet than the
Right,
appellant.
and $2 million. I mean, there's no way we could balance that out. It's 2 million, it's over $1 million more than what he's requesting. I can't make those adjustments. It's not, it wouldn't be.
yeah, no, this is a bigger house, John. You're saying it's a much bigger lot too? I thought
I'm not
this one
saying
had-
it's much bigger lot necessarily, because the lot is 1.125.
0.125. Right. So it's similar lot. It's just, it's a much bigger house, but it says it's year built 1910, but does have a dock, but it's 3,800 square feet. And he's 20, what's he, 22 or
He's 1,800. 18.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that's a $2.1 million sale. So what's he at? He's at $1.2 million.
Not functionally the same.
Exactly.
I can't say that's
Yeah,
comparable.
I hear you. He's at 1,800 square feet. Okay.
It's much smaller.
Does anyone need more time?
I don't.
I just want to point out too, there was the sale at 1492. I think it was mentioned, right? 1492. It sold for 800,000, right? So it does say it's 0.295 acres, but 0.180 of that has a 0.05 condition on it. So it's about similar size land, that is usable. That they knocked down the home. It's it's sold for 800,000, right? So I mean, this gentleman's talking about his land being
What home is that?
overvalued. I mean, there's a sale right there that was in the time period.
1492 Fairfield Beach Road.
It doesn't house. I think that belongs to a builder.
Well, no, it was Sand Dollar Development.
Oh yeah, Sandal. Yeah, that's.
But then they sold it to the current owners in 11/2020 for 900. But they Sand Dollar purchased it in August of 19 for 700, and then turned around a little over a year later and sold it for 800.
That was a land sale, not a sale of the house. We didn't use land sales because they're not comparable. We're using sales with homes, lots and homes. And I think the one we picked seems to fit the bill.
I'm sorry, I have to say something.
Go ahead.
We're the Board of Assessment Appeals. We are here for the taxpayer, is that correct?
Yep.
Because it's
coming all
right, so
taxpayers.
I have to say, please let me finish. Okay, it seems like we're fighting. There's a few of us that are really trying to fight for the taxpayer, and a few others who are doing whatever they can to deny it. This is we have a really good comparable here. We actually have a sale, and this guy has no property to use. The whole property consists of that house, and he has virtually no land, and he's not unreasonable. He's very reasonable with his price. He's not unreasonable here. I don't see any reason why we should not grant this. And I can't believe that we're spending all of this time picking it apart, and this isn't good, and that's not good, and this house is better, and that's better, and this other comp is not as good, and all of that. This is a reasonable request.
Well, this is Kathleen. He's 100,000 less than the comp, right? So, and that's a totally different house, and there's not a value. So if we think his land is his problem, we could potentially look at what his land might be if we gave him an additional condition factor because he's got so much house on such a small lot. That would be a way. I think the 950 is too low. That's my opinion. I think the 950 is too low.
That's your opinion, but why do you think it's low? You have your opinion. I'm respectful of that, but you need the facts to back it up. You can't just say, I think. It doesn't matter what any of us think. It matters what we
No,
can show.
I have
Those are-
the facts that I'm using to form my
No,
opinion.
point of order, I'm speaking. We're talking about a comp that seems perfect. It makes sense. If you don't like the comp, if you have something you can prove to me, the same way we can prove that this one is the right one, show me one that you can prove the same way isn't. It can't just be that it's $100,000. And by the way, in response to we work for all the taxpayers, we absolutely do. Unfortunately, for all the taxpayers, they didn't show up for an appeal. Some of them did. When this person is in front of us, we're looking at whether or not he was aggrieved, not that the tax burden might shift to somebody else, including yourselves, which is part of the problem. But some of you were very happy to accept what you got. No tax increase and a condition factor you didn't deserve. So based on the look of your land. So I don't see why we're still doing this. Can we go on now?
I have my hand up. I'd like to say something.
Sure.
Paulette, I'm going to ask you to help me with two questions I have.
Okay, Harold, I'll try.
We're looking at the property at 1690, and some of us feel that that's a good comp. Help me over two points. One is when I look at the card, I see that the land is just slightly over half the square footage of the subject property. That's one thing. That's one question I have that I don't have a clear answer on. And the other is that the construction value of the subject house is over $500,000, whereas the comp that we're pointing to has construction value of $136,000. So how do we rectify those differences to say that this house should be valued less than the comp?
Well, remember that the land, okay, it's slightly larger, but it's not just the size of the land. It's the configuration of the land. The 1690, because it's combined with 1700 as one lot, basically, it has a usable piece of property, which is very valuable when you're on small lots. So the fact that he has that extra piece of land changes things dramatically in the use of the property and in the market value of the property. And that's what we're looking for, market value. As far as the house goes, it's an older house. What you're seeing on the card is what the assessor's office assigned it. We're not saying that it's right. We don't know if it's right. That's what he says. The older home is always going to have a lower value, but the inside of it doesn't show older. It shows newer. It's updated. It's great. When you look at the insides of those houses, they're fairly similar. The fact that the assessor puts a lower value on it, it's an older building, but that doesn't mean it's in worse shape or that it's not as valuable. It's beautifully maintained. Antique homes, if they're beautifully maintained, they're just as valuable as something newer to the person who wants to buy it.
So in terms of my first question, and I'll try to be brief. Are we adding the value of those two lots in the comp, the 77 or whatever the number is, to the value that's there now, which brings it over $700,000, I believe? I don't have the two numbers in front of me, but if we add the value of those two parcels together, I believe it's something north of $700,000, and where the subject property is just north of $700,000 too. So isn't the land value comparable, irrespective of what it looks like or how it's used? Because I think the subject house has chosen to create a large parking area where they could have a different landscaping.
I don't know that they can. Their house is as big as it's allowed to be. And they didn't build it, by the way, but it's as big as it needs to be. It can be. The parking area is the parking area. You need a place to park cars and get in and out of. They go in the garage, get back out. It's not supposed to do it. That's the way to get in and out of the property.
Yeah, getting back to adding up the value of the two parcels of the 1700 and 1690, how far off is that from the value of the land, albeit it is larger than the subject land?
I'm sorry, hold on. I don't quite get what you just said.
if we add up the value of 1700 and 1690's land, isn't that almost the same as the subject land?
I believe it's bigger.
I'm talking value, how it's the price of it.
The town's value you're talking about, Harold, right? Yeah, the town has that property undervalued compared to the sale price. The subject, right, the subject property.
Let's not go there yet. Let's not go there yet.
Let's start with that.
If somebody could add up those two numbers.
700 and 1,300 is when you put together 1,700 and 1690. 7,013.
701,300. And the subject property is valued at I'm sorry.
726.
Let me find it.
726, 800.
Yeah, 726.8.
726.8. So there's a difference there of $25,000, and there is more square footage on the combined property.
So let's also not forget that the subject has that special flood insurance, which doesn't make it as marketable. Right, Paulette? What was that? Can you describe that in flood insurance again?
Yeah, because of the zone change, right? If he were to insure the house and the contents the way most people would in a flood zone, his insurance would be well over $14,000 a year. Not attractive to a buyer. If you bought a house that was older, that looked like his, maybe on the same size, if there was one exactly like his, but older, built before this change, and they got their flood insurance before the change, you can assume that flood insurance policy when you buy the house, meaning that you take over the policy and your flood insurance stays at what that person's flood insurance was, which could be anywhere from $900 to $3,000. Big difference. So in order to keep his flood insurance lower for himself, he did not insure the contents of the house, only the building, the structure. So his insurance is $10,000. So if you're buying you have two that are similar, that house is newer, but that's $10,000, that's $14,000 a year for as long as you stay there if you insure everything.
So since you brought up the flood insurance issue, how do we compare the flood insurance to 1690's property versus the subject property?
Well,
what's the difference?
Flood insurance is, but that property is not, I don't think that's lifted the same way if it's even FEMA compliant. So that flood insurance is going to be high, but it's an older house. So we would have to know what flood insurance is. We'd have to know the elevation of the property based on a flood elevation certificate done by a surveyor. That's the only way to know if it's FEMA compliant or not, or how close it is to being FEMA compliant. We'd have to know that.
All right. Okay. So Paulette, just regarding that, help me understand how we are comparing something that we know about the subject property to something that we don't know about the condo.
Because that house is older. So that house insurance, if somebody were to take over that policy, then it probably wouldn't be as bad because they have the ability to take over an existing policy. You can't do that with this house because it was built after that rule changed, and you can't, there's no way. You take over his policy, you're going to take it over for $14,000 or $10,000. There's no way to get a better rate.
I'm sorry, but I'm not an insurance person. I don't know the ins and outs of that. So I can't evaluate that information in my thinking. I'm sorry.
This is John. On the 1690 house, if it was FEMA compliant and raised, do you think it would have fetched a higher price than the 1.05 million?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it would have. It depends on what happened to it when it got raised. How high does it have to be? And then what's their flood insurance? Now, if they raised it and had to do new flood insurance, wouldn't they be subject to the same rule he's subject to, which would dramatically increase their flood insurance? So I don't know. There's no way to know that. But I guess my point is we've looked at it, I think, from every angle. And I know not everybody is going to be comfortable with it. That's the way things go. But again, we go back to a comp, look at the whole picture. This one sold for this. He's asking for $100,000 less because of some of the differences. And I don't really see that I don't really see how difficult. I don't really think that's bad. I don't really see the difficulty with it.
All right,
One other
Just as
thing,
long, it's just on
Yeah.
the insurance, so didn't the homeowner have to have the insurance when they purchased this? Right?
Yes,
They
they
knew
did.
the cost of the insurance at the time, so why are we then, yeah, okay, the insurance was there, they know that, right? It's not a surprise, okay? So I think that's really not, not a valid argument that, they're paying more insurance than their neighbor.
It
That's
does-
just,
You know
that was
what?
the case
it
when they bought
affects
it.
marketability. Peter, it affects marketability. It changed after they purchased.
okay.
He
I
purchased it in
have
the next-
one other
Oh,
note
well.
on the property at 1690. I got another note on that. And because I actually went online and I looked at the property condition disclosures. I delved a little bit into it. And we keep talking about that house was built in 1929, built in 1929, built in 1929. Their major renovations were in 1993. I just want to add that. So,
No,
I mean, if
it's
you
clear.
couldn't tell that there were some major renovations, but those major renovations were in 93.
It's clear that that's not a house that's original from 1929.
Of course.
Perhaps the foundation is, who knows? But obviously, that house has been maintained to make it habitable, okay? So we've heard arguments all across the board.
I just want to answer Peter's question, because I don't want to ignore him.
Yes.
Peter, he is not complaining that his flood insurance is too high because he has to pay it. What he's saying is, like Judy said, the marketability of it. Combine the $10,000 a year of flood insurance with the over appraised value of the house, which raises his taxes, and his marketability is affected. He's going to pay it if he has to, but he shouldn't have to because it's not really the right price. He's not saying I want a discount because my flood insurance is high. He's saying that all these things affect his ability to sell his house for the level that the town is assessing it at. That's what, or appraising it at, rather. That's what he's saying. He's not saying he didn't know. He's not saying he doesn't want to pay it.
Right. Okay, I'd like to call a vote on this. We've heard a lot of discussion and good arguments. So all those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested value, please raise your hand. I have 1, 2, 3. Paulette?
Yes, it's up.
4 in favor. Opposed? Raise your hand. 4 opposed. It's a tie. The appeal is not granted. The motion is denied.
Congratulations. You made your appeal on Fairfield in the Fairfield Beach area. You should be very proud.
I'm off for tonight. I'm going to be on tomorrow morning. Okay?
What?
Okay.
What?
Judy.
Okay, thank you,
I'm
Judy.
on tomorrow morning.
Okay. Well, I will say that we hear a lot of discussions, and it's very compelling. It's just sometimes we don't see things the same way. So that's
Sometimes we've voted down most of the Fairfield Beach area, Harold.
50 times we haven't seen things the same way. 50 times. Count this one. We haven't seen, and this time we had a sale comp, and yet that wasn't even good enough. Is there a way? There's no way to get anything through because no matter what you come up with, it's not right. A comp isn't good enough. No, nothing's good enough. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. There's a comp right there. Nothing's good enough.
I think up to now in Code 66, we have approved, either granted in part or granted in full, about 20% of the appeals. So
let's talk about numbers. I don't want to hear percent.
I'm sorry,
like
point of order.
15.
I think this discussion is not germane. I mean, can we please move on and let
It is
her
germane.
do some of her appeals?
This is germane. We need to talk about this.
Okay, but then we need to talk about when we're going to schedule time for you to finish, for Alexis to finish her appeals, because we won't be able to finish them tonight if we don't move forward, which means we're either into Saturday or next Monday or Tuesday. So we just need to keep that in mind as we continue, these discussions tonight. That's all.
yeah, I would just say that our decisions are not final decisions. Appellants do have the ability to appeal their decisions further, and that is well documented. So I would like to continue so that we can at least give everyone who had a hearing an opportunity to have an appeal.
No, but you know,
A vote.
I'm tired of hearing how somebody can go to court. You know why? Because it costs money to go to court. And if they have to go because they should go, that's fine. But to make them go because you won't understand and you won't recognize a comparable property, that's criminal. That's criminal. To do that to somebody just because you don't want to give up something that you might have to pay for part of. And that's what it's all about. It's exactly what it's about.
All right, I understand. I asked two specific questions. I got answers, and I needed that information for my understanding and how I was going to vote. So I thank you for taking the time to explain it. I just voted based upon my understanding of the information that was provided.
So it wasn't enough information. I don't know what else I could have said, Harold, or what else I could have done to satisfy the four of you. It's always seems.
I pointed out what the differences were in the properties that as I saw them.
You refused to see the comp that was right there in front of you. That's the one you wouldn't go with. You found something else.
No, the comp that you presented, the 1690.
You refused.
I looked at the value of the building. I looked at the value of the combined land, and I saw that the combined land was similar. I wasn't looking at how it's being used. I was looking at the square footage, and I was looking at the construction value of the house. And your argument to that was that's the way the town values it. So,
well, that's the truth.
Yes. So I'm not saying that the town was wrong in that area because I didn't have any proof that it was wrong.
Right. And we go with what the town says because after all, they're right. They don't have to prove anything. They don't have to prove their case. I get it. But I think being reasonable is the other part of it. And by the way, and this is the last I'll say of it, two current realtors saw nothing wrong with it and were able to explain it. Another person who's extremely level-headed and bright, who I think at one time had a real estate background, agreed. So three people who know about that agree. And Alexis agreed. She could understand it, but the four of you never can. And I guess I don't understand why, no matter if it's an appraiser, a realtor, anybody, you have no respect or regard for them. You just make your own decisions based on your own thoughts and feelings. Not what's right, not what's in front of you, not what the evidence is, just what you feel like doing. That's wrong. It's disgraceful and it's disgusting.
Paulette, I think I could turn that around to say that you also don't respect the opinion of other professionals that are doing the valuations. You don't respect other professionals that are trained and certified to do their job.
Who would that be?
I understand what you're saying.
I don't have a problem with the assessor. I feel bad for the assessor, to tell you the truth. I honestly feel bad for him. I don't feel bad for Mr. Fazio. The assessor's in a horrible.
Okay. So
I guess if I don't give him respect, I won't get any. I don't really care if I get your respect, to tell you the truth. It's not worth my time.
I'm asking for respect. I'm not a professional. Okay, Alexis, could you please?
I will do a few. Honestly, it's hard to continue forward here with you with this. I'm just really speechless after that, and I think I need a few minutes. So you can go to somebody else, Harold.
All right. Let me just say that it's to the benefit of the appellants that we do bring their appeals to a decision. We do need to do that one way or the other, as long as we have a quorum. And if it's not with the people who did the hearings, we still have to vote on them.
This is Kathleen. So do you want me to do one now, or I got that you want to do the Ukrainian club? Anybody interesting, different than the beach?
Sure.
Okay, so why don't I do appeal number 222? It'll be on the commercial tab if you're following along the spreadsheet. Let me just call it up here. The property address is 279 Kings Drive. The owner of the property is Ukrainian Sikh Benefit Society. And the town's value on the property is $929,500. And their requested value, which they specified sorry, wrong dollars. Oh, you know what? I think this has a card correction, so I'm just going to tell you the 750, 500. But let me just check the file because they did have some things, and I believe Ross put an updated card now that it's coming back to me here. So let me just look at the card. See if there's they had some questions about the fence and the parking lot. Just want to see, or I can. 923. Yeah, so my first motion will be to change the town's value from 929,500 to 923. It says 052, so I'll say 923,100 to reflect card corrections on the property, including measurement of the parking lot and the fence. I believe those were the two changes. I need a second.
This is Harold. I'll second.
Okay. So the appellants came in. I'll tell you that now there were 4 of them. Do I have their names on here? Oh, they're probably in the minutes. Anyway, it was the end of the night. They were gracious. They waited till like 9:15. I was running so far behind that night. So their attorney was Kenneth Graham, and then there were 2 other members of the Edward Zygmunt and Michael Goodsick. There they are. Were the other 2 appellants that came, and they're members of the Ukrainian Sikh Benefit Club. And this is it's on 279 Kings Drive. The property is kind of backs up to the highway, the 95 entrance ramp there. And they had some questions about whether if they looked on Google Maps and they saw that some parking spaces outside of their lot were potentially included in their lot. And Mr. Zygmunt is the former fire marshal for the town of Westport and has measured a lot of buildings. So he measured their own parking lot, and they had questions about the height of the fence. They said it's a 4-foot fence and not an 8-foot fence. So again, I had the assessor's office go out and make some corrections on the property. So that's what these corrections are. Do you want me to go through the rest of the appeal first, or you want to vote on the card corrections first? The motion on the
I'd like to vote on the card corrections.
Okay, so
So
if anybody has any questions on the card corrections, the spaces outside that they questioned when they actually looked at the GIS, they all came around my computer. We called it up on the GIS and we saw that Google Maps, Google Maps does include those additional parking spaces on Kings Drive, the town does not. So, and I had that verified when, I don't know if it was Ken, somebody went out to the property. So that's been cleared up, that those spaces, even though somebody striped them, we're not sure who, they are not being included in their lot square footage by the town.
Is that the only change that's on the card?
Well, the fence, they said that the fence is the other half of my question in here. Yeah, they said that the fence is different. It's not a 6-foot chain link fence. It's only 4 feet high and it's only 50 feet long, not 500 feet long. So again, I think it was Ken went out and measured and adjusted all of that accordingly. So now there is 4-inch fence on the card and any other adjustments to the size of the property. They did question the overhang they wanted to know what the, where is it? There's the overhang on the front. They couldn't figure out what that was, the canopy there, but that is considered in their square footage. They said, we don't have a canopy. I said, I think that's that 4x4 platform that's, by your stairs. So they had a lot of questions on the card.
Kathleen,
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to know what is the motion regarding the card correction?
So I think the two changes were for fence and square footage corrections.
And this is Harold. It appears that those corrections were made on or before April of 19. So the card that I see on page 18 and 19 includes those changes already. So do we need to just vote on the corrections as they were made?
Yes, that's the motion that I made to reduce it from what it, these will be in effect for the 2021 grand list, but if we want those changes in effect for 2020, we have to approve them. So that's why I made the motion to take it from 929,500, which was the number, the 2020 number, down to the 923,100 number, or 052. So that's my first motion, is to correct that.
Okay. All those in, any further discussion? All those in favor of granting the card corrections as they appear, please raise your hand. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor of the card corrections. Opposed? Abstentions? Paulette, how do you vote?
I'm abstaining.
Okay, the vote is, the appeal is granted. The vote is 5 in favor, no opposed, 2 abstentions.
And so so now I'll make a motion to reduce the appraised value, the town's value, from 923,100 to the requested value of 750,500.
I second the motion.
Okay, so like I said, it was the three gentlemen came in. We had a lengthy conversation about the Ukrainian club, the age of their building, the fact that they, even though they are able to normally able to rent it out because they do not have a kitchen. When the governor closed down the bars, they were one of the ones that, or they had their kitchens on a different floor or something. So they were one of the ones who were shut down by, totally by the governor, and are still, in March 16th, 2020, they had to close. So that meant they got no rent from their hall rentals, and also their other source of revenue is dues, and they did not charge their members dues because the building was closed and they couldn't use the building. They couldn't do any dinners or anything. They did point out that, they had to go into their, I don't know if it's their savings or whatever you call the money that they have aside to start to cover the cost of the real estate taxes and other expenses. They said if they have to go into it for several more years or however long, and that fund is depleted, that the property would then go back to the Bridgeport Church, which is where it defaults to. And if that were to happen, then the town would get no tax revenue from this property if the church ended up taking it over. So they're hoping that that's not going to happen. They're hoping they can open up again. So with that exempt status, they said it's not in the town's best interest to let it go. It is a 100-year-old building. They looked at some other property in the Sasko Hill area, and they noticed that some of the land values went down, but theirs went up. They're asking to go to what their value was last time. And that's how they came up with the number. They just want to stay the same. And they certainly, have a lot of passion and interest in who they are, what they do. And so they're asking to go to that value. And they did offer to say, could we do it for 1 year? And and then when we're back on our feet, and I said, or I asked Ross if there was a way we could do something about that. And the answer was, that's, we can't grant it for 1 year. We have to grant it for 5. And that, economic development or there may be other avenues for them to get some relief in terms of that, or ways to get their tax, not have to, and I think they can defer paying their taxes, but then they have to pay interest on it when they come back online. So whether that's a good benefit for them or not, but that was their request.
This is Harold. This is listed as a fraternal organization. Is this also a not-for-profit organization?
Miss Kathleen, I don't think so because their assessed value looks like it's 70% of their appraised. If they were a nonprofit, I think that it would be different than that. So this is similar to the Gaelic Club or the Scandinavian Club,
Yes.
some of the other clubs, but they say those ones had kitchens, so they were able to stay open during COVID, where they were not, and their concern was about draining down the fund because they did not tax their members this year. And we did have a lot of discussion about the building and the measurements and everything, but
Anybody need more time?
I was just a quick question. They didn't tax they didn't assess their members, but how much did they not collect by doing that?
yeah, I seem to think that the rental revenue was the majority of their revenue. I don't know, did they include it in the backup? It's been a while since I've heard.
They do have income, or they do have an income expense report
Yeah.
in
I don't
here,
see.
starting on page 11.
Do you see their dues? Oh, dues.
$75 annual membership dues, 100 with the chits. Student members are $10. Yeah,
So we're
the
talking
paragraph.
they decided to not collect $3,000 of their
Right.
total.
Wasn't much. Most of it is in the rental income from renting the building. Yeah, or the bar, which they had to close because they're considered a bar by the state.
So their whole income for even the year to date through November, is that like a full year? I'm just trying to get a feel for the size of their income.
March 16th, 2020 was when they had to when the governor shut down the bars. And
These
when they were,
income statements, are they year to date? Is November almost the full year? November 2020 report, I'm just trying to get a feel for what their annuals are. So November of 2020, is that their year end? So their total income went from 65,000 in 2019 to 25,000 in 2020. Just sorry, I'm just looking for.
I know.
I see what you're talking about, their income. That it dropped almost 40,000.
Right, and I didn't know their dues were supposed to be only 4,000 anyway. That was, I feel better that, they passed on a small amount of dues and they're not just saying, well, we didn't collect dues, so.
No, my indication, yeah.
I see the hall rental and so forth. So, and then my other question, so it looks like their income at best could be, $60,000 a year. And their taxes on the 60,000 would be, do we see the taxes there is about $4,000? Does that sound right?
Well, they do have a line item for taxes, which is
I wonder
18.
what their real estate taxes are. And,
Yeah. They probably merged it all together.
So they're just looking really to go back to last year's appraisal.
Oh, no, you're out of here. Let's go.
That's correct. Yeah. And they did say it's a very old building. I don't know what the condition factor is on this, depreciation code of 4. I believe they remodeled the kitchen in 13, but the kitchen's not on the same floor or something as the function hall. So it's not that easy to, that's why it's not considered like a restaurant.
John has his hand up.
Yeah, this is John. From looking at their card, I thought I saw somewhere like they had 2/3 depreciation obsolescence on it. Let me just verify that on which page it was on.
And again, their assessment, it's for the land that it's gone up. Even the assessment has gone from 355 to almost 500, 150,000 for the land.
Like I said, they said they looked around what happened in Southport and they saw a lot of the Southport, Sasko Hill, land values go down and they didn't know why their land value went up.
Because this is John, I would assume that it's because were they looking at residential or using residential versus?
I think they were looking at residential. That would be my guess. Yeah, he didn't.
commercial that they have here, because they're a C6 neighborhood, not one of those.
Right.
And yes, I do see on page 19, depreciation of 47%, external obsolescence 15%. So that brings the percent good to 38%, which would
Right.
be what,
And I-
62?
Yeah, I don't, this is Kathleen. I mean, Ross is there. He can answer this. I don't know how you value the land. You know, we know that condition factors are different for, you know, different types of businesses depending upon their locations. I don't know for this particular, you know, when you do fraternal organizations like this, whether, you know, how you value their land. I don't know.
And that would be where I would like to go. Just like, you know, this week we talked about the a commercial, you know, having a commercial waiver to have an essentially home office, to me, did not constitute a commercial zone. And when we made it the residential zone, it came in line to everything that, you know, I really hate to see a fraternal organization taxed at a full commercial zone rate. So I would appreciate if there could be some way in to that, if the assessor is there. I would be, you know, trying to go down that route for them. I don't know if that's going down the rabbit hole. I apologize, but that to me is where I would like to see us go.
And the use code may affect it. I don't know how 3530, right? I think use codes do come into effect. I don't believe they do in the residential, but they do in the commercial. So I didn't look at the get. I probably did look.
And I saw my auto body, you know, changing it from a service to a shop or whatever the term was, really brought them into line. So Ross, are you there?
I am. Yes. So what would you like to see? Or what was the question?
So the question is on this appeal, I'm sorry with the number, and sorry, is it supposed to be the chair? Or, I mean,
yeah, I've got it up.
A fraternal organization C in the zone, you know, the land value, I just like to, you know, is there anything else we could call these guys? So their commercial value is not so high for their land?
Well, I wouldn't want to change the use code because, you know, that's what it is. It's a fraternal organization. That's how it's being used. You know, if you wanted to bring it down, the neighborhood code could be changed or just reduce it through a condition factor.
And fraternal organization C, do we have options as a town to do other types of fraternal organizations? Does that have any impact? Are there other options, I guess?
Yeah, I'm looking, there's a fraternal organization I, so I'm assuming that's more of an industrial building versus more of a commercial building.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's the only two options.
So, I mean, I get that it could have that commercial component, renting out the hall.
They can rent it, yeah.
Right. And this won't, you know, that use code does not change value.
Okay.
Well, this is Harold. I would like to see them stick around. I think that they are an integral part of our community, as many fraternal organizations are. I'd like to vote if there's no further discussion, or if nobody needs additional time. I'd like to call a vote, I should say. So I will call a vote. All those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested value, please raise your hand. I have 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor. Opposed?
I can't believe they did that.
1 opposed.
So inconsistent.
Ross, can you turn, we can hear you, Ross.
Okay.
I'll abstain.
Put yourself on mute.
All right. We have 5 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 abstention. Alexis opposed. Paulette abstains. The motion is carried. The appeal is granted. 5-1-1. Thank you.
Can I please have the amount that was approved?
Yeah, this is, sorry, Prue, this is Kathleen. It's wrong in this spreadsheet. It should be 750,500.
Thank you.
Alexis, are you prepared to do another?
Yeah, I can do a few, sure. So I'd like to go to appeal number 509, please. Bring it up. My computer's a little slow. Okay, so appeal number 509. This is 2059 Fairfield Beach Road. I'd like to make a motion to bring down the town's value of 1.72 to the appellant's opinion of fair market value, which is 1.644.
I'll second it. This is John.
John seconds.
Great, thank you. Sorry, I have multiple screens up here, so give me a second. So the appellants, he brought some, some nice charts and graphs, but one thing I really struggled with here is they bought the home in 2019 for $1.9 million. And I think that obviously that's a lot more, a lot more than what they were assessed with. And I personally don't feel like we can go, much lower than what the town has put forth, which I think is pretty good considering the market conditions at the beach. But we can certainly have a discussion about it. And, I urge you to go through the chart that the subject has put through. I do have one question though. I think the improvements went up by $146,000. So the appellant did say there were no building permits on it. So maybe the assessor, if he's on, could just give us some insights on that.
Yeah, this is Ross. I don't see any recent permits on the card.
Yeah.
I can check the
there were no permits from what
building. Yeah, I'm just looking at, I'm going to check the permit system to see if, to make sure. No, there's no recent permits. Just last ones on the house look like 2011.
Okay, so why do the improvements go up so much?
I'd have to do some research to look back and see what's changed.
Okay.
Yes, Catherine?
Not a good answer, but I also see that their land went down, which is very unusual for any of the ones that we've been seeing. There is something in the note that says it includes 160 across street. So I don't know if some other piece of, map or something.
Would that be a garage?
That's probably a reference to a parcel number.
Yeah, well,
not an address number.
Right, includes 160 across street.
This is Harold. If it's a parcel number, that may be because all of the homes across the street or properties across the street are in the 2,000 range. And perhaps there was an increase because, as you can see, this is from the photo on page 18 or the diagram, it is one house further into the FB7 zone as opposed to the FB8, and that might have driven them down. Don't know for sure.
How did they come up with, Alexis, how did they come up with the number? Was it like an average?
So did you see the chart on, was it page 30? Let me bring it up.
Because I'm thinking they had the same chart a few times over, but there's a
What do you
couple
mean
of
over?
charts.
I don't- What do you mean? They went by basically adjacent properties in their neighborhood. They have like 14 or 15 of them or so here. But again, they bought the house for 1.9, and I don't know how any of us could really feel comfortable going lower than what they
Well,
paid
this is
for.
Kathleen. So I was on mute while I was talking. Sorry. It was purchased with 2060 Fairfield Beach Road. So that's across the street. So you have to just add, when you're looking at the town value comparing to what he paid for it, you need to add the Creekside, whatever the value of the Creekside lot is, kind of to see, because right, depending upon what comes with it, looks like.
They're only appealing one of the two properties.
Right, they're not appealing the Creekside.
They're not appealing their Creekside property,
Yeah.
right? But when you look at the sale price, you need to
No,
know
I
what else
hear
you
what
bought
you're
with
saying,
it.
right? No, I hear what you're saying, but I still think that they got a pretty good deal considering 30%, most of the beef went up, except for a few residents. So I just don't feel like I can make a significant argument to go lower or to go to what they want. That's me.
Okay.
Thanks, Alexis.
Anyone need more time? I'll call a vote.
I had a question. Paulette. I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. So I understand what they paid for it, but there's $100 and something thousand worth of improvements now on the fuel card?
Yeah, but there was no permit, and Ross said that would require more research to find out why that was.
Yeah, because
why that went up.
I mean, I would wonder why. If my understanding is right, the improvements have to do with the house, not the land. So if the house was purchased in 19, was it new construction?
I think there was one owner beforehand.
It looks like that there was a reno in the notes. This is John, or something there, because it talks about, it includes the property across the street, was in foreclosure and distress sale. Spoke to agent and he indicated the condition was poor and that it needed total reno. And that looked like in February of 11 to 12.
This is,
Go ahead.
this is Kathleen. The pictures of the inside the house are online. It looked like, Franzen did the architecture for it. So it's really beautiful on the inside. Jack Franzen out of Southport, pretty well-known local architect.
Again, there were no build. What year was that, Kathleen, that you think
Well,
this
when
was
it was
done?
remodeled in 2012 or whatever, Franzen, if you look at the ad, when you can learn a lot when you go to realtor.com and read the description, you see the pictures of the inside of the house. So it looks like Franzen did the work and it was all redone in 2012. Doesn't look like it's FEMA compliant, but it's beautiful on the inside.
But that was done in 2012, before
Yeah,
they bought it?
10 years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
It started, yeah,
It was
in
not done
summer of
by the
just before Sandy, summer of 2012, looks like.
This family bought it in 2019.
Yeah.
Okay, so these people want, so that renovation in 2012 has no bearing on the $100 and something thousand increase in improvements. So then.
No, it doesn't matter who the architect is here.
I don't think we should be voting on something if we don't know why it went up $130 something thousand until Ross can maybe figure that out for us.
Yeah, so I suggest that we table this until another date, maybe Monday, Tuesday, and just figure that out. So I'll
this is Ross. What I can say is it looks like it was relisted. We reviewed the sale, and based on this review of the sale, we changed how the card was listed. So the grade was increased. That's the primary one. That's probably where most of the value change was. I didn't have a chance to check every detail, but that was the significant one.
So I don't understand. I'm really to miss that whole thing. So the house was relisted where? And where did you see the inside of it?
We saw it online.
Oh, so you went online and looked at it, so you have no idea when that was done, but you just jacked up the improvements.
No,
You have permission, you can do that?
we routinely review the online listings.
And then you make changes based on what you see when there's no permits pulled, or you just make changes.
If we have it listed incorrectly, yes.
I don't really think, I can't believe you do that. That's kind of sneaky, isn't it?
No, we're just trying to make the cards correct. We
Let me ask
increase or decrease, whatever we see.
I doubt there's a decrease, but let me say it this way. Did you have pictures of it before to compare it to?
Of the interior?
Yeah.
Probably not, no.
So you had no pictures of it before, but you looked at pictures now and you based it on that. It could have looked like that for God knows how long. So you jacked up somebody's improvements over $100,000 because you saw a picture when you have no reference as to when that was ever done. Tell me that's right. Tell me that's fair.
All right.
Because it isn't. And by the way, those pictures are made to make it look good so somebody will buy it. It's a marketing picture. It's not a picture of maybe not even what really is there. And if you have no way of knowing when it was done, how dare you go and jack up somebody's price? That's going a little bit beyond, don't you think?
Excuse me, Paulette. In looking at the comp that you mentioned earlier in an appeal 1690, you had mentioned that you were inside that house and you
Yes.
could attest to what the condition was of that house, right?
Yes. Tell you when it was done.
You formulated an opinion as to the condition of that home because you had visited that house, right?
Yes, I saw the inside of the house. Yes. I didn't look at a picture that somebody took. I was actually physically in the house, which is
I
different.
understand.
If he wants to go in the house, that's his right, and he has every right to do that and then make a change. But this looking
And then
online,
also, there have been houses where you have relied on listing pictures to gauge the content of a house as well.
listing pictures to gauge what the house looks like, not when it was done, and certainly not to jack up the price. It's very
Okay.
different here. Don't twisting it around now. That's not what it
No,
was.
I'm not twisting anything around. I'm just getting some
Yes, you are.
clarification.
You have the clarification. It's what I see, not what I think I see in a picture that's been
Okay.
altered to make it look better. And as again, I have no idea when that was done, and I'm not jacking up somebody's price because of it. Without justification.
This is Kathleen. So we have the information, right? We have the answer as to why their improvements went up.
Well,
So
I think what I suggested is that we table it until we can do further research into that, right?
what else do we need to know more? That's what I'm asking.
Do you want
Well,
to make,
when Ross answered me, he said he needed to do research, and to me that
You-
sounded like that would take more
you
than a
also
day.
have, I
Yeah,
do believe
he
that you
did
also
do it.
have the option to make an amendment to the value.
Well, no, this is Kathleen. I think Ross answered it by saying because they saw the pictures online, they increased the grade, and that's what added to the value. Because you never know, people don't, if you don't get in the house or things don't happen, you might no access, measurement, estimated refusal. So they didn't allow people in a certain time period. So I'm saying from the pictures, I'm guessing I think we have an explanation as to why the building value went up. We now know the answer to that. It's because the reassessment, right, the reval process increased the grade on the home. So I think to postpone it for that reason, I think now we know the reason. We may not like it or we may not agree with it, but now we know the reason.
No, thank you for that. I would have to say though, Kathleen, we had, I think a hearing a month ago on Lancelot Drive, which looked really nice in the real estate pictures, but we all learned that it was a pretty bad house. Actually, needed a lot of work, which is why we voted it down. So I can't go on pictures from a decade ago. I don't think that's really fair. Would you want?
No, the sales. It was on the market in 19, so you can see the pictures. You can see the listing. Yeah,
but
I'm just saying what other
marketing photos.
What other information do we need to move forward? Like what else can we go get? That's what I'm trying to figure out. If we knew we needed more information, but I don't know what else we can get.
This is Paulette. I think the problem is that the information that we have tells us that what was done is not in keeping with the proper way to assess somebody's or appraise somebody's property. Because again, there's no way to know when it was done. And so now all of a sudden you're just jacking it up. It could have been like that for God knows how long. You can't just say, oh, well, we went and looked at a picture. How would you like it think about it if it was your house? How would you like that? I don't think anybody on the board would be too happy about it.
Kathleen, I think we know it was totally renovated in 2012 because that's what the notes say and that's what the permits show. So I think it's been renovated, 8 or 9 years ago. It was in foreclosure and they spent a lot of money renovating and remodeling it and they hired an architect. It's all in the right, it's in the write-up in the sale. So I think we do know when the work was done. And
okay, so 2021. And if
right,
even,
so it's done 8 or 9 years ago, pre-Sandy, right, the work was done. It started in, they pulled the permits in 2011 and the inspections were in the summer of 2012. So, and completed just before Sandy. They repaired the seawall, did roof, windows, kitchen, etc. So there was a lot of work done. So I think, again, I think we know that information as well. I think the question is, are we going to do anything about it or not? Now we know why it went up, and do we think it's, but do we think it's correct or not? I guess that's what we need to vote on. And I just don't know if we postpone what more we need to learn than we know right now.
I guess I'm not really looking for a postponement. I'm looking for more clarification because you just explained when it was done. Thank you for the explanation. That makes sense now. However, that was what, 10, 11 years ago, 9 years ago, whatever. Now, why now? Why now is it going up? It should have been depreciating over those 12 years. Now you're adding another 100 and something thousand to it. I don't get it. If that happened 2 years ago and you say, well, they pulled a permit, yeah, of course, yeah, well, you need to account for that value. But this happened a long time ago, so that by now there should have been a decent amount of appreciation on that renovation that you have listed. And I don't see the need to bring it up 100 and something $1,000. It should be going down, not going up, unless you can prove that it was recently done. And even then, you shouldn't be doing it from a picture. And this happened to me in Trumbull. And I actually had the assessor go out and he reversed it for the following year because the grand list had already been done. We couldn't change it because the pictures were not representative of what it really looked like inside. So I don't see how you can vote on something that went up that much when there's no reason, there's no basis in fact for it.
I think can we vote? I think we can vote. I don't know.
But
Well, this is something that the board cannot make a determination on because it was something that was done by the assessor's office, and I think that we can not make a determination of if the assessor's way of valuing this is valid or not. All we can look at is what the appellant is saying or is appealing as to why they feel that they are aggrieved, and take that information into consideration. Now, you bring up a very good point, Paulette, but I don't know that we can find an answer to that question. I'm sorry, well, but
you're right. But I think the way to handle it isn't that we cannot change what he did. We can't say he can't do that, even though I said it. It probably was wrong to say. But what we can do for the appellant is to discount that and say, take it off. We're voting to take that off the appraised value, and we're going back to the way it was. And then
well, that's why that's why I did suggest if somebody wants to make a motion to reduce this further, but it's already reduced with as a result of a hearing. No hearing change.
Yeah.
There was no hearing attended, but it's also already reduced by a significant amount from the purchase price that was pointed out by Alexis.
This is Kathleen. It's a 4%, he's asking for a 4% reduction. So it's a very small percentage off. So it's not, did the town get it reasonably close, especially since he paid 1.9, even if it included a creekside lot? So I guess, I don't know. I think either someone needs to make a motion to amend it or
we vote.
I'm not sure because he's not even asking for that much of a difference. I don't know where we would go. Would we go higher than, in between those two numbers? I don't know.
I think we should vote. I think we all seem to.
All right.
Yeah.
The hearing officer also thinks that we should vote. I'd like to call a vote. I think that those are very good arguments and very good points. I just don't think that we can, the board, that is the BAA, can do anything about this particular situation that was mentioned. So I'm going to call a vote. All those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested value, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand.
Oh, excuse me. I meant to, sorry. It's been a long day, Harold. I meant to vote.
You're voting, are you voting in favor or opposed?
Opposed, sorry.
Opposed. So the vote is 0 in favor, 6 opposed. Paulette?
I'll abstain.
Abstention. So the vote is 0-6-1. Thank you. The appeal is not granted. Thank you.
I hope someday it's none of our houses that are showing up with an increase because somebody looked at a picture online.
Okay. It's now 9 o'clock. Alexis, how many do you think you have left?
I think 3 left. I can come back on Monday and finish up.
That's 5. I think you have 5. Looks like you have 2 Ganem properties, Chris Russo appeal out on the point, and then you have a Creekside and a Beachside lot at 1710 and 1711.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Then, yes, Catherine?
I'm going to bid adieu. I'm so tired, and I will be at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So I don't think I'm needed for the quorum. May I be dismissed?
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. I'm going to have to head out too.
I think we're finished.
come
I'm
back
going to, does anyone want to make a motion to adjourn? John, make the motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Do I have a second? Peter, seconds. This meeting is adjourned. For those who are going to join us tomorrow, we're starting at 9 o'clock in the morning to do commercials and some wrap up. Thank you.